Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, the world's biggest Harry Kane fan. And today, what a stream we have for you. It was supposed to be just the end of season player ratings, but news breaking today left, right, and centre. So before we get into the player ratings, we will be talking a bit on Conte staying at Tottenham and the breaking Perišić news. And of course, we are joined by the one and only co-host Jack Kinnicky, and Marcelo has been drafted in for this one. I know a lot of you enjoyed last season's player ratings, so hopefully we can live up to it. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
Dave, I'm being shocked and awed every single day by Spurs. Spurs going after older players. I mean, that's a bit of a new situation. Spurs going after free contract signings, also a bit of a new situation. Spurs going after players that are not really ones for the future, more for the here and now, and probably won't be, very useful in the next 2 to 3 years, just very temporary signings. Quite nice to see, Dave. And finally, Spurs doing business very early by the looks of it for the first time in a while. It just seems like Spurs are doing a bunch of news, a bunch of things that just don't really match, our usual reputation, or don't really match what we usually think the club would do in the summer. It's really incredible, Dave. And also, as it even says on my Twitter, Dave, as an itch enthusiast on my Twitter, as it says, it's really good to see Perišić linked with Spurs, of course.
No, some great news. I will be reading up some Fabrizio Romano updates on that situation. Marcelo, how are you keeping, my man?
I feel like I live in a parallel universe right now. What happened to Daniel Levy and what have you done to him, bro? Because, this isn't the Tottenham we're used to. But you know what? I can get used to it, bro. I can get used to it real quick because the news are flying and I'm just happy right now.
No, I'm absolutely buzzing. It's exciting times to be a Spurs fan. Look, I suppose we'll start on the breaking news and then we'll touch on Antonio Conte. But Fabrizio Romano's latest tweet reads, "It has never been in doubt. Spurs sources have..." Oh, no, that was the Antonio Conte one. My bad. Sorry, the Perišić one. Ivan Perišić won't announce his final decision today. For sure, Tottenham are leading the race since Monday. They want the Croatian winger as a priority. He is in Conte's list. Inter have not received any official answer from Perišić yet after the last bid to extend his contract. So look, a lot of people saying, why can't Spurs, why aren't we working in the market? And I've been saying, we are working in the market. We're just not going to put everything out there publicly. And it says we've been in for Perišić in talk since Monday. Be very interested to see what Perisić's decision is this Monday. The fact that he hasn't signed an Inter Milan contract as of yet makes me think he might look to go elsewhere. So I'll be very, very interested to see if he does come to Tottenham. I mean, Jack, what is your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's actually a really clever signing and something I'm not very used to when it comes to Spurs. And the reason being, Dave, is I feel like we're going after someone who very much will be extremely useful to us next season, perhaps the season after that. But 3 years down the road, he'll be 36 or something like that. Do you really expect him to be able to, keep, kind of trudging on in the way that he is? Perhaps not. But what I really like about it, Dave, is it just kind of screams that, Spurs are, actively trying to make whatever Conte wants, happen. And that's what most people have been asking for this window is whatever Conte wants, make it happen. And it seems like this Perišić signing, Dave, would be probably real kind of evidence for that, or real kind of indication that whatever Conte's been asking for, this is what Spurs are going to be doing as well. And I think everybody should be happy about the signing. What I would say, though, is a quick kind of insight on Perišić, Dave, is that he is kind of notorious as being one of the most kind of two-footed players. I mean, I've kind of seen him, I've kind of grown up, I would say, more or less with Perišić. I remember him over at his days at Wolfsburg. I remember his days, he's been at Inter Milan for 6 years, maybe even more than that, to be fair. But he's been known as one of the most two-footed players out there, Dave. He always does that kind of two-step over sort of move, takes it out to the outside, smashes it with the left. He can also hit it with his right foot as well. It's almost actually hard to know what foot he even is. I think he is a left-footed player, but the way he even hits it with his right, it makes you think that he could also be, a right-footed player. So just extremely technically gifted, really tall, as well. A lot of people forget he's kind of a tall player. I don't know, Dave. He could play as a left winger, could play as a striker, could play as a left wing back. He's an exceptional player. I mean, he's probably alongside Modric, been their best player on the Croatian national team as well. I mean, who doesn't love Perišić? I think a lot of people like myself have even kind of grown up with players like Perišić.
Yeah, no, 100%. I fully echo that, Jacko. I mean, for me, look, I'll get onto it in a minute, but it's just another example of Tottenham going after winners, getting them in here. We've seen Bentancur, I think, 8 honours to his name, 8 or 10 honours, come in here. Look at the difference he's made in midfield. Perišić also has another 10 honours to his name. Again, another proven winner coming in here. But I'll have my thoughts on it in a minute. But Marcelo, what's your thoughts on Perišić? Good signing?
Great signing. I think especially, we're also, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but we're also looking at Bastoni. If we can get Bastoni that over the line, I mean, you already have two players that already know each other. But, just looking at Perišić alone, it's like what Jack said, just technically gifted. I think also he understands Conte's system. He's proven to fit Conte's system. And I think that's really important because Conte expects a lot from his players. So whatever player we get in, it's going to take some time to kind of adapt to that system and adapt to that training method. You know what I mean? It's very intense. But Perišić, he's going to come in, he's going to fit right into our system. He's probably not going to take any time to, develop. He's already going to, I think he's going to be a sign that's going to, kick on running right away, bro. And I think that's important. And I think also we need that player that has that age and has that experience because we don't have anybody with that. You know what I mean? Like you look at Chelsea with Thiago Silva, he can be that guy for us. He can be that guy with experience, leadership that, we need sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I fully agree with that. I think the leadership aspect is absolutely crucial. I think, look, what the young players can learn off this guy, let's be honest. What is he, 33, Jack? 34 now?
33 right now.
And let's be honest, you don't get to 33 still playing at Inter Milan if you're not a professional footballer, if you don't live your life the right way in and around the training ground, if you don't behave the right way, or even off the pitch. For me, I think Perišić, what he will do is any young players that, need an example to learn off, he is your guy. For instance, like if they're frustrated, and plus, he's a huge plus for Antonio Conte in that dressing room because he knows Antonio Conte. He knows how he works. So he can be Conte's guy in that dressing room where maybe he can get him to deliver little messages to people. Maybe he can get him to rally the troops around, bring that experience, that leadership. But as well, if any players aren't in the team and they're struggling, they can go to Perišić. Why am I not in the team? Instead of ending up with situations like we have done before with like Ali, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Bergwijn this season under Conte. So you don't end up with them situations. They can simply go to this guy. They can say, why am I not in the team? And he can point it out for them. This is what you need to do. He sets an example for everybody. Any young players in that squad, or even any players like Kane, Son, who haven't really won that much. If we do get to the big stage next year, if we do get to a final, we are challenging up there near the top of the league, stuff like that. He can give them experience on how to deal with the big occasion, how to prepare, how to think, like what to eat. You know what I mean? How you need to be physically going into a final. And this is what this team needs. It needs winners. We can't keep pulling in players from leagues and looking to develop them. At some stage, you have to bring in the finished product. And that's been a lot of our problems over the years. We've gone into semi-finals, finals, without any players that really know how to get over the line, or even having players that can come off the pitch and help the team and stuff like that. And this guy would provide that.
He's also recently played, in that Bayern Munich, Champions League winning side. He was just on loan there for a year, and they won the Champions League that season. Even that season, he didn't play a huge part until the later stages of the Champions League. They actually started using him ahead of players that they normally probably would have used, like maybe a Leroy Sané, like maybe, like a Kingsley Coman, players like that. Or even, a Gnabry. They were consistently actually playing in like the latter stages Ivan Perišić, because he was the one that was actually leading that side and, playing the most consistently. He was working extremely hard for them. And so clearly, I think it was Hansi Flick at the time, was using him, instead of maybe the more talented, younger kind of, vibrant players, because he knew that Perišić, like you were saying, Dave, is kind of like a proven winner, more experience, maybe a cooler head on his shoulders as well. So, I mean, that's the type of player that we're bringing into Spurs. Somebody that's like won every type of thing that you could imagine, to be fair. And also has even made it as far into a World Cup final with a team like Croatia. And I know Croatia are a very technically gifted team, but let's be honest, always still an underdog, and no matter what tournament they go into. And so he's also done exceptionally well with teams like that too. So he's played for every type of team.
100%. But like, as well at Tottenham, sometimes I feel, I don't know if other people feel like this, but when the game is in the balance, you're almost expecting Tottenham to crumble. But you can also use this guy to bring off the bench who has that know-how to see games through, how to look after the ball. As well, he's a player that can double up. He can play a left wing back, but he can also come in here. If Kane gets injured, you can push Sonny up front, put Perišić where Son plays. So he offers you a lot of options in terms of in the squad, whether you want to use him in the starting 11 or off the bench. If he's on the bench, Conte must be getting a hard on looking at it and saying, Perišić, warm up. But also he's a player that knows Conte, knows how he works. There's not really going to have to be too much adaptation to how Conte plays. What, the training and stuff like that. He's a player that can come in and more or less hit the ground running. Would you agree with that, Marcelo?
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. He's a player that, you don't need to mold him. You don't need to tell him what to do. He knows what to do, bro. Like you guys said, he's been there and done that. And it's spot on because I think, Spurs, we have been really close to trophies, but we've been missing that person. And sometimes that person for us has been, surprisingly, Lucas Moura, who's also won trophies at PSG. Now, Perišić is miles ahead of Lucas Moura, in terms of that experience. So imagine bringing someone like that in. I mean? We need someone of that experience. We've seen how important it is to have someone of that experience who can keep calm in the big games. You know what I mean? Sometimes Kane and Son, they get a little bit too overzealous in the big games, try to do too much, try to, get the ball too much, sometimes not in their position. Someone like Perišić can come in and, just tell them, hey, keep it cool. You know what I mean? Stay in your position. He can command that. And I think he would have the respect from the players. He would have the respect from Conte. And I mean, he also financially, he's on a free. So there is no losing in this situation. And this is sometimes where with Spurs, we have been frustrated, where there have been players on the free that we didn't go for. And, under Steve Hitchen, and we would ask, why would we not go for this player? Why would we not go for that player? And it's good to see that Paratici is bringing a new method, a new philosophy to Spurs, because the philosophy needed to change, David. If we, the old philosophy wasn't working, so we need to change.
100%. And look, it's about time we started going for some of the biggest stars or the well-known names, And look, it's going to pay it back. I mean, people like Jack would probably buy 20 jerseys in the sort of revenue terms. The fans would be queuing to get this guy's name on the jersey. But look, this is a guy that at Borussia Dortmund won the Bundesliga and the DFB Pokal. At Wolfsburg, also won the Pokal and the Super Cup. Bayern Munich, Bundesliga, Pokal, Champions League. Inter Milan, Serie A, Coppa Italia. And Super Coppa Italia. Like Jack said, went all the way to a World Cup final with Croatia. Jack, what does this do for the Tottenham dressing room? For the likes of Kane, Son, Kulusevski, players like that who are just out-and-out ballers. Does that lift them? Does that now maybe make them even more hungry or make them maybe train harder to show off to this guy in training?
I'll go back to this point I made, Dave. Perišić at the end of the day is an extraordinarily temporary signing. He's not going to, be delivering, week in, week out for multiple seasons on end. He's not someone for the future. He's not even someone for the next 5 years. He's someone for the next 2 seasons, to be fair, maybe even 3 if he can make it that long. And so what it really says to Kane and Son, Dave, to answer your question, is that Spurs are clearly going for something right away. They're not, taking their time. They're not, trying to wait, to maybe see if something falls in their lap. They're clearly going for signings that they know Conte could use right away to try to get them to win something, to try to get them much higher up in the table than, normally we would expect, to try to get them further and deeper into competitions than normally we expect ourselves to go. It's much more of kind of a initial kind of I don't know, kind of show of faith, Dave, that Spurs are trying to, prove themselves very quickly and very rapidly instead of, taking our time like we always have, because I kind of agree with fans as much as I've been kind of guilty of playing along with it. Fans are kind of tired of the rebuilds. They're tired of, the process, with Spurs and the projects with Spurs. Exactly. Perišić is the opposite signing of like a project signing. He is someone that comes into the squad and tells Son and Kane, again, Dave, to answer your question, that, hey, I'm here to help you guys win something right away.
Yeah, we also don't need a rebuild. That's the thing, that's most frustrating. If we needed a rebuild, then I'm okay with it. But when you have a foundation like Son, Kane, Hugo, Romero, and, Conte in there, and you like – there is no that's a foundation to win leagues, man. And Kulusevski, what I mean, when he's in there, the foundation is already there. There's no need for a rebuild, so it's perfect.
No, it really is, And look, I must stress, it's not done yet. I would err on the side of caution with this, but the fact that Tottenham have been in since Monday. And he hasn't signed a new Inter contract, and he's going to be making his decision Monday coming. It's interesting times. I would say that he probably is going to move away from Inter Milan. I'm just not sure if we can guarantee it is Tottenham, but it certainly looks exciting. Go on, Marcelo.
And just to add to that, even if it doesn't happen, it's a new step that we're not used to. What I mean? We're every time in the summer window, we have to wait until August to hear anything, bro, that we're going for players. What I mean? We have to wait till August. Now we're on the prowl. We're on the move for players. That's exciting. That's what I want for my club. What I mean? Even if the deal doesn't get in, go on to the next one. What I mean? We're starting early and we're trying to get it done early.
Yeah, 100%. Could not agree more. And before we have a bit of a discussion on Conte, guys, we will take some comments in the chat. Let's see what people are saying. Dan Coy says, when the 30-minute reminder for the channel comes up and YouTube asks for a review, and if I am happy with the reminder, hell yes, capital letters, no spaces, haha. Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. Love these streams. Come on, you Harris Army. Big up, Danny Boy. Nick Ermelock says, good evening, lads. Guys. Big yourself. Come on, you Spurs. Matt Spurs says, Liverpool fans think Kane will join Klopp's flops this summer. I mean, yeah, it's honestly,
it's embarrassing.
Bottom of the barrel for some transfer news. I mean, it's ridiculous. Kane is happy under Conte. I can't see him going anywhere, if I'm honest.
He's not leaving the beautiful city of London to go to Liverpool. Let's be real here. You know what I mean? He's not going to leave London for Liverpool. If he's going to leave London, even if I put my mind to it, it would be at least some place like Manchester. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to live in Liverpool, man. Come on now.
Look, he's not leaving Tottenham. He's going for the Premier League record.
Yeah.
He's also going for the Jimmy Greaves record. He ain't going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere.
Welsh Gal says, big up, lads, just over from the Paul Stewart biscuit off on Ben Kaufman's channel. It was actually fun. I was having a great time. I was getting hungry watching it, to be honest. Para Miguel Escobardo says, good evening, all. Come on, you Arsenal. Come on, you Black Cap Army. Come on, you Spurs. Welsh Gal says, exciting news about Conte. Let's do this. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. Tequila316 says, big up, everyone. In Conte, we trust. KPD's getting excited. Perišić is on his way. Not on his way. But it does look like he will be leaving Inter. Destination is unknown, but we'll wait and see. Ian Ferguson says, I'm trying so hard not to get excited until I see him holding the shirt, but man, what a great time to be a fan. No, look, it's always
get excited
holding the shirt. It's always till they're holding the shirt, but it doesn't stop me getting excited, you know.
Get excited.
I hope that kills you. It's look, I hate the transfer window and I love it at the same time, you know. It's one of them. It allows you to dream.
But I'll say this: it's time. It is time to get excited. This is the time for us to dream. Dream and do, bro. You know what I mean? Like, this is the time. Everything is going our way. You know what I mean? How long has that happened for us? Where things go our way.
We've had 2 years of absolute
shit, bro. Absolute shit.
All over social media, the media, it's all been shit about Tottenham. How negative about Tottenham. So nobody's going to take my excitement off me with the time we're in.
Allow it.
Finish when it didn't look likely. 150 million invested from the owners. And the names we're being linked with, Bastoni, Perišić, it's exciting times. Allow yourself to be excited. Stevie Fraser says, big up, Dave, happy with Perišić for instant quality. Get in. It'd be a good signing, my man. Bobby Spurs says, big up the Harris Army. Hope everyone is having an awesome Friday. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Bobby, my man. I hope you're keeping well, lad. We've got Justin Grayson. Good evening, lads. Another great day of news. A very good day, my man. Island Life says, get effing in. Big up, Island Life. Paul Markey. Big up, Paul Markey. Really appreciate the support, brother. He says, Kane to Pool rumor started by Tosser at AFTV.
Oh my gosh, I know. I saw REI make a comment about it, and there are people on certain channels making a big meal out of it. Dave, apparently Kane's on his way to Liverpool while Conte simultaneously commits to Spurs. I mean, I don't know, Dave. I don't know what they're smoking over there, but clearly the best and the finest stuff because they're not thinking straight.
I can assure everybody now, Kane will not be joining Liverpool.
Never will.
Look, AFTV trying the best. Sky Sports have tried their best. I mean, God love them. They all tried. They just can't do it. It must hurt them. But
listen, the day Tottenham wins the Premier League, the whole of England cried, except for Tottenham fans.
There'll be a mass exodus. They'll all be at their airports on their way out. Looking to book last-minute holiday deals and everything, so we can have free reign to celebrate.
You see Jamie Redknapp looking down. Everybody looking sad.
Yeah.
You think it's a funeral.
Definitely would be. Big up Paul Markey though, brother. Really do appreciate the support, my man. And everybody else, make sure you are smashing that like button, absolutely obliterating that subscribe button. And guys, feel free to get your super chats in with your thoughts, opinions, whether you disagree, agree. We're going to be doing player ratings as well. What's your thoughts on the Perišić deal? What's your thoughts on the Conte deal? I'm so far behind on the chat. But look, guys, basically a super chat is a great way to support myself and Jack on everything we do here. Plus, it just means you skip to the queue. We get straight to it and have a good conversation on it. And feel free to grab a channel membership as well. Absolute whopper fan show last night. Someone wrote underneath it, 4.5 hours, question mark. I was like, look, as long as the fans want to keep talking, me and Jack will keep engaging.
13 people? I think we got through like 13 people or something like that, 14 people. I mean, that just shows like everybody got their fair share. Everybody got their fair say, and if we need to go 4.5 hours long to get through that many people, that's what we need to do. And we could have probably gone through more if we needed to. So there you are, everybody. I mean, we could have gone 6 hours if we needed to, Dave.
Exactly.
Probably would have needed an intermission, but we could have gone 6 hours if it needed to.
Definitely could have. It was a whopper. Absolutely. I'm just loving life, man. I just feel free, I feel unshackled. I feel good. Anita says, can never say my surname. Okanabiri. There you are. Sounds good. David, let's bloody go. Absolutely love it. 10F1 says, big up Marcelo. A lot of love in here for Marcelo. Bobby Spurs as well. Tequila 316. Can we bring Mothers back for a season, please? Look, I don't think he'll ever come back to Tottenham, my man. I think that ship sailed. I'd love it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Big up Shawnee boy. My man,
Sean.
Big up. I hope you're keeping well. Get yourself ready for the season review on Sunday. It's going to be wet and wild, my man. Wet and wild. Everyone get your biscuits and get ready. Who else have we got? Paramuguel Escobardo, great to see you. RAI, same with you. Russ Vernon. Look, man. We've got Sandile Budalezi. Sounds, absolutely ace that one. Big yourself up, my man. You've got Lee Richards. Old way of doing things at Spurs during the summer are over. No more overpriced studs or unwanted cast off from other clubs. Every player we sign this summer will be a content player. He won't accept any less. Could not agree more, my man. ATX7 Gaming, big yourself up, brother. Hope you're keeping well. Great to see you in the building. Same as Jimmy Costco. Michael, great to see you in the building, my man. Sean says, hi, guys. Last time I'm using this Google account, so do not worry about it, Shawnee. Do not worry about it, man. You're mad, absolute madman. Big yourself up, Shawnee. Jason Bell, great to see you in the building as well. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're keeping well. We've also got Jethro Zulu, Clement. Great to see you guys. I'll be honest, I'm so far behind. I'm actually just going to skip to the bottom of the chat. Sorry if I've missed anybody, but keep getting your comments in. We'll get them up as we go along. Dan Coy says, Kane lives and breathes Tottenham. Mr. Tottenham, come on, you Spurs. Look, every season, because he's the big England man, they try their best to get him out of Tottenham. We don't want our best striker or the best player in world football to be playing at Tottenham Hotspur. They don't want it. They want him at the likes of City, maybe a Liverpool, so that they can sprawl him all over the pages, promote him everywhere. Look at this. He wins everything. Well, look, it hurts them. Clean up on aisle 5. Dave's coming in with the mop and bucket, soaking up all their tears because Big H ain't going nowhere, baby. He loves Tottenham. Deep down, he loves Tottenham. And the fact that we sacked Nuno and got in Conte, Harry Kane will stay at Tottenham. Look, I'm gonna say what I have to say on the whole Harry Kane saga and the Nuno saga actually for Sunday for the season review because I have a lot to say on it. I have a bit of a theory on it as well. But look, trust me, Dan, Mr. Tottenham ain't going nowhere, my man. Him and Sonny, side by side, they're going to carry us to glory, my man. Big up.
It's cute. It's cute how they think they actually can come in and, like, you know, swoop our players under us. You know, it's cute. Yeah. It's cute. Like, who do you think you are, bro? You know what I mean? Like, shut up. You know, stick with that crying loser. You know what I mean? He loses the Premier League, and all he has to whine about is how the Wolves fans celebrate it. You know what I mean? What a whiny little girl. You know, be quiet. Sit in your place.
I love it. I love it. But big up, Dan, my man. Really do appreciate the support. You have no idea how much it really does help us out. Every little does help, as Tesco says. But big up, Danny boy. But look, guys, I think we'll speak a bit on Conte because great, massive news about Conte today. We were all a bit well. Look, as soon as Don Paratici was going out to Italy on his own. Once Daniel Levy didn't have to go, I knew Conte was staying. But it has been confirmed today with Fabrizio Romano tweeting, it has never been in doubt. Spurs sources have been confident for days, and it's now decided Antonio Conte will be Tottenham manager for the next season. Harry Kane's new deal, Ivan Perišić main target, and more. So he's already so Harry Kane's new deal could potentially be incoming as well. Hopefully we can tie Conte down to a new contract. But Jack, I mean, how big a news is it that, you know, Antonio, is staying at the Lane, Jacko. What's your thoughts?
Dave, there's so many components to why it's the best kind of news. Probably the first part we just have to address, Dave, is not only has Paratici brought this guy into the club, but he's also made it very quickly and, you know, very, you know, assuredly, clear, Dave, that he's also staying with Spurs and he's confident that Spurs are going somewhere. So Paratici has not only brought the guy in, but he's also, you know, kind of confirmed his future as well. So the Don status is off, you know, to a good start this summer. And Dave, I said this before on the fan show last night, you know, some people say hot girl summer, you know, hot boy summer for, you know, trying to get in shape. This is the Don summer. This is where the summer where Dons are made. He's off to a good start, you know, so far, I would say Paratici. And the big part, Dave, is I bet he just rolled into Italy where, you know, Conte, he was enjoying his vacation with the family and everything. He just said, round of Aperol spritzes, you know, round of Negronis, you know, and everything on me, guys. You know, and Conte just said, listen, you know, I've been thinking about it on my holidays. I want some Perišić in the team. I want some, you know, Bastoni. And then Paratici just said, say less. And basically, they probably didn't even talk about football, Dave. They probably just, you know, maybe complained about Levy, you know, maybe just kind of spoke about the whole season, you know, and just kind of sat there and enjoyed, you know, the round that I bet Paratici was paying for. And it's just good to see that not only is Conte happy going into his vacation, Dave, because no one wants to go into a vacation, you know, feeling a bit uneasy, but then also at the same time, it's good to see that, you know, like everything is, I guess, going to plan at least so far, you know, to what everybody was so worried about. I don't know, Dave, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, this entire time that Conte's been here, people have been worried about his future. People have been worried about whether he's going to be backed. And at least so far, so good is what I would say.
100% that. I could not agree more. And the fact that there's no more noise about it just means everything can be easy going into next season. Everything is on the right sort of vibe right now. No news about the future of him. It looks like Harry Kane might be signing a new contract to stay at Tottenham Hotspur. The players we're linked with, but the biggest one was the manager. It clears up so much. It means now we can act in the transfer market. It means now our targets know Antonio Conte is staying at Tottenham, so they're more likely to come. It keeps the likes of Harry Kane here, and it just means now that even going into the new season, the players know who the manager is. There's no doubt about it. So as soon as preseason hits, they better be ready for his, as Gary Neville likes to call it, military regime, which I don't mind. They're overpriced babies now, some of these footballers, so I don't mind having that military regime. But I do disagree with what he said about the whole 2 years thing, and I get where he's coming from. It's what his numbers have shown, but for me, I think when it comes to that, you look at the likes of Jurgen Klopp, you look at the likes of Guardiola. You're telling me they don't run a sort of like a military regime to get their players to cover the distance they do, and they don't have them on special diets to cover the distance they do every game, the amount of running they get through in order to make their team. Of course they do. Of course they do. Antonio Conte just needs the love, and he's got it here at Tottenham. But Marcelo, what's your thoughts on Conte staying? It's massive. Massive.
Never a doubt in my mind, bro. You know what I mean? I had confidence in Don Perišić since day one, bro. People were calling me, "You're a fool. You don't know what you're talking about." He hired Nuno, and I said, "Look. The Don may have made a mistake with Nuno, but the Don never makes two mistakes, bro." Yeah. And I knew he wouldn't make another mistake. He wouldn't slip. This guy, he's elite. I've been telling people his track record in Juventus, it proves itself. Juventus, they're a crumbling club right now without him. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to sign. You know what I mean? And Perišić just went and took some of their best players, and they didn't even know it. They didn't even know it, bro. He works in the dark. He works in the shadows because he's a gangster, man. Like he doesn't want people to know what his next move is. That's what a real, mafioso does. And, he's that guy. And it's huge news that Conte is staying because, it means that we can start a new season and a new era at Spurs, because this does feel like a new era at Spurs. I feel like Mourinho, it was kind of a little bit of a false hope. You know what I mean? Maybe we can get something out of a manager who maybe has not been on his best. Okay, he won stuff at Roma, but who cares? But a manager who really hasn't been at his best. But, this is Conte in his prime. This is Perišić in his prime. And everything just kind of seems to be going our way. And all I have to say is Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, watch out. You're going to be looking in your shoulders real soon, bro. Because Conte don't play. Conte is in here to, get top four. Conte is in here to, build something for, 4 years. He's here for the now, bro. You know what I mean? He's here to win. He's a winner. So you guys better be looking out for your shoulders, because Conte and Perišić, they're coming.
100%. And look, more breaking news on the whole Perišić deal with Mate Moretto reporting that there's already a foot and a half in London. Hopes that it could be done soon. And Guaro Paz, who, let me just check for you guys, is a journalist at some place, and he's put out that Perišić has signed a 2-year deal with Tottenham Hotspur. So news breaking all the time on the Perišić situation.
Matty Hayes also confirms. Well, I mean, he didn't confirm it, but he says it in his title that Perišić 2 years deal. It looks like it's happening, boys.
Interesting. It looks like this one is happening. Huge news on Ivan Perišić. All in all, looks like he's about to sign a 2-year deal at Tottenham Hotspur.
Come on.
Jack finally gets his wish of an itch at Tottenham, and me and Marcelo finally get our wish of ballers coming to Tottenham, players.
Real men with cojones.
Absolutely love it. Leon M96 says, big up David and Jack. You provided some fantastic content this season. Enjoy your summer, lads, and have a beer on me. Excited for the new season already. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Leon M96, I mean, look, first of all, we just enjoy doing the content. It's great that so many people can join us and that they enjoy it, which is absolutely massive. And look, we'll be here all over the summer. I mean, there's news breaking every single day. Believe me, we will not get a rest. We will be going probably every day through the summer, all the way into next season. But look, we'll definitely have a beer on you, Leon. Absolutely, really appreciate that. And as for the new season, I mean, look, looks like Ivan Perišić 2-year deal at Tottenham is a done deal. And I mean, Conte's committed his future. Harry Kane contract coming. I mean, absolutely unbelievable time to be a Spurs fan, Leon, and excited for the new season. Jack, what would you say to Leon?
Lots to be excited about, Leon, about next season. You're absolutely right, my man. The other thing, to be fair as well, is that, I don't know, Dave, feels like, almost a month straight. We've nearly gone almost every day or something, with something on the channel. I hope to, keep that sort of pace in some shape or form, at least with, the quality content that we do try to put out there on the channel this summer. So I know everybody's kind of saying their goodbyes for the summer and whatnot. No reason to say goodbye. No reason to say goodbye, because you
just started
plenty of content on this channel this summer. It's just going to be a very different schedule. And I think people are looking forward to a different schedule as well. David and I are as well. And flatcapeurotalk is going to be plenty busy. I know Matt Hayes is going to be plenty busy.
Perišić is done deal.
Done deal?
Oh my gosh.
Fabrizio confirmed?
I'm not saying, but it's done deal. I'm
Done
not saying
deal?
who confirmed it. I've got a Hayes. Here we go. So.
Come on, you Spurs!
The itches are coming in, baby. The itches are going to be flying in. We might even get 3 itches
I've got
in
a
this summer. Who even knows? 3 itches in. But Leon, just to finish what I was saying, my man, because it's a really generous super chat. I mean, I would say that the summer just can be hot and heavy. So hopefully while you're enjoying your summer, Leon, maybe you can find a bit of time in your day to still catch up on what maybe the Irish Hotspur is putting out there for you. Big up, Leon. Really appreciate support, brother.
Oh, it's absolutely. Jack, is my mic better now, lad?
No, I think it's been fine the whole time.
Okay,
I'm saying if you wanted it to be even more perfect, Dave. If you wanted it to be even more perfect.
I'm absolutely buzzing. I mean, what a time to be a Spurs fan. Big up, Leon, brother. I really appreciate the support, my man. Really do appreciate it. Shawnee boy with the super chat. Big up, my man, Sean. Really appreciate it, lad. He says, was Daniel Levy... actually... How'd you get on in your poker the other day? You were supposed to update myself and Jack. Let me know you got on in the poker. But he says, was Daniel Levy uninvited because Conte had done thought, nah, mate, don't invite that boring prick. Tell him we're all good and pop another cork.
I think this is what happened, Sean. This is what happened. You know, you're over in Italy. Everything in Italy, it's a bit, you know, kind of more narrow, a bit tighter space. You know, there's not as many big tables available at restaurants. And they were just kind of thinking like, you know what? I don't really want to bother the waiter. You're going to have to make Daniel Levy fly all the way over to Italy. Do they really want, you know, to invite someone like that over just to spoil maybe the party? Because we all know maybe Daniel Levy's paying for everything, Sean, but he's not really, you know, the person that everybody wants over at the party. Despite paying for the party, he's not really the one that everybody wants to see at the party. He's that sort of character, if you ask me. So I think that's just what happened, Sean. And maybe what they said was, listen, you know, Daniel, we actually turned in, you know, early, you know, decided to just, you know, hit the hay, you know, kind of early, when in fact they were just, you know, partying it up in Milan or Rome or wherever they are, right? My man, big up, Sean.
Here, Daniel Levy, listen, Daniel Levy wanted to stay with the cool kids, but Don Perišić just said, hey, look, Daniel, like, how about you just, you know, go worry about the financial stuff? I'll deal with this one. And, you know, he went and sat with the cool kids, you know.
You know what it was? Two of them probably want to just chill out, drink wine.
Yeah, just talk about football.
You know, I mean, and whatever else they want to get up to. I mean, they look
Golfing.
like they're I'd say they're a bit mad and a bit of crack. And I wouldn't say Daniel Levy is that sort of guy for them, that sort of party guy. I think he's a bit more straight and narrow. But look, I mean, credit. He just lets Perišić get on with it. It's what every Spurs fan asked before Perišić was brought in here. And that's why I don't understand why Spurs fans give out about Perišić. After Daniel Levy's video last season, people came out and said, we'll bring in someone to get control the football side of things. And that's exactly what he done. And then we moan about it. Shouldn't be moaning about it. Should be enjoying it. Don Perišić is a legend. Angel Mata says, I'm convinced 150 million ENIC confusion is Levy and Lewis making curb appeal improvements before they sell the house. Keep your real estate portfolio and leave us our club Conte forever. Look, even if it is, Angel, even if it is, I don't care. The fact that we're getting invested,
that'd be glorious news.
Like Perišić is coming here. We're in for Bastoni. Conte staying. Kane new contract on the way. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
That would be the best kind of news, just quickly.
The future tied down. Dane Mbappe. Sorry, Jack, go on.
No, that'd just be the best kind of news, because that would mean that Levy and ENIC are trying to improve the club before they leave, you know, before they sell up. So that would be just the best sort of news, because we get rid of ENIC and Levy, but they're also trying to improve the club dramatically right away before they also sell up. So, I mean, that would be extraordinary news.
But you know what? I think it's also even bigger that we've done this already early, because, you know, now it allows, I mean, how many times have Pochettino complained about not being able to get a preseason with his new players? Remember, imagine if we, like, listen, I'm not saying it would have worked out, but imagine if in the parallel universe, we've gotten 10 guy early in the season, right? He would have had a preseason with Pochettino. Who knows what would have happened with our new signings? You know, they could have been hitting, you know, right away, bro. They could, you know, just come in and running. But, you know, now that we're getting these deals done in early, it's a huge step. And it's like you said, David, people were complaining about the Don. You were complaining about his methods. But guess what? His methods have proven right, bro. He is changing the culture at this club.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Look, for me, I think, just let Perišić cook now. I mean, just let him cook. That's all I say. Rob Coyne says, big up, Dave. Did you watch Kane on the Jimmy Fallon show last night? Can't wait to see our signings. I had a good piss-up final day of the season. Of course I watched it. And he bet him at foosball as well. He's shit out on the foosball table, my man. No, look, Harry Kane, I mean, he looked good as well on there last night, didn't he? To be fair, hair perfect, nice colour suit jacket on him as well. He looked good. And look, it was interesting to hear him that when he was out on loan at one of the clubs, that he ended up coming across the Tom Brady documentary, and it ended up, inspiring him basically to become good enough for Tottenham, because he was like, and this shows how much he loves the club. I can't remember what club he said he was on loan at the time. I don't think he did say. But he basically said, if I can't play here, how do I expect to play at Tottenham Hotspur? Finds the Tom Brady documentary and then really gets down to it. Drives himself to be the best every day. And then all of a sudden gets to play for Tottenham Hotspur. And this is what I keep talking about with, like, people make excuses for the likes of, and we have done over the last couple of years, C and fucking all these other shitty players that we've had. And it's like, oh, well, it's the manager, it's the training, it's this, it's Tottenham. And I've said this time and time again. No, if you want to make it in football, you look after your career. Yes, you have advisors, you have managers, you have, agents, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, you will always have the final say when it comes to stuff. And it's up to you, instead of being told what to do, it's up to you to realize what you have to do. Yes, along the way, it's nice to be pointed in the right direction. But it's up to you. Only you can have that inner desire to be better, to train harder, to train longer. Only you can have that. We can stop making excuses for players. If you want the very best, you have mindsets like Harry Kane. That's what I would say. And I'm glad you had a good piss up, Robbie. Jack, what would you say to Robbie?
I'm glad that the last day of the season was a good piss up as well, Rob. But to be fair, I did ask for Harry Kane to make a very humble trip over to Brooklyn and Crown Heights. Guess he decided not to. Probably just a bit too, maybe humble for him, a bit too dangerous for him. Maybe he just had, a nice little kind of party to go to, maybe some clubs, to visit in New York. But it's just good to see HK has touched down in the Big Apple and is clearly enjoying his summer off, Rob. He's not making a trip over to the Bahamas with Daniel Levy, getting, nice and, kind of just, too relaxed as maybe what happened last time. This time he's just spreading the message of Tottenham Hotspur around America. Yeah,
no, he definitely is. He's probably trying to look for an in for the NFL, Jack, to be a kicker.
Probably true. They got
so it looks like Tottenham have offered Perišić what he wants, 2 years for $6 million, and that's by the Marzio. Not bad, 6 million over 2 years. Not bad at all. Not Not exactly free, but I mean, 6 million out of 150. I mean, absolutely loving life. It's absolutely nothing. The bottom Doherty says Perišić went to Bayern in 2019, played in the attack and helped them win the Champions League. Came back to Inter the next year, played as a wing back and helped them win the Scudetto. He is the definition of elite. Look, Jack Marcello, I'll let you in on the bottom Doherty super chat. I mean, it's confirmed. Well, it's more or less confirmed he's arriving at Tottenham on a 2-year deal. I mean, do you agree with the bottom Doherty here? He's talking about the flexibility of being able to play left wing and left wing back.
And striker. He's even played there. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like we talk about players, people are like, oh, this player needs to fit, fit the specific system. This player needs. Listen, a great player fits any system. Any system. Look at Son and Kane. You know what I mean? You get them an elite manager, they're going to score goals. It doesn't matter what system they play. It doesn't matter if it's a 4-3, 3 or 4-2, 1-3 or 3-4-3. It doesn't matter. They're going to score goals because they're elite, and Perišić is elite. He is one of that cloth. And the fact that we this is the thing that, sometimes annoyed me about Spurs is that sometimes we wait, and then another club comes in and just takes it from us. They're like, oh, that seems like a good player. Maybe we should just go in and just offer a little bit more than what Spurs has been offering. Just get it. We're like, nope, this is what you want. Here you go. All right, thank you. He's ours now. And that's it. That's it. That's how a big club operates. That's how we should operate, bro. And I got a feeling that this is going to be a trend in the season, and hopefully it becomes a trend in the future.
I hope it becomes a trend in the future. Tabata Duda, I mean, you might have missed it in the very beginning of the show. I kind of had a big, long rant about what Perišić would bring to Spurs, because David asked me, Tabata Duda, what sort of message does the signing of Perišić say to players like Son and Kane? Just shows that someone who clearly is there to win things right away, not someone to win things in the future. Someone to come in and, improve the team and win things right away. The 2-year deal already screams that. It's not a big, long deal of any sort. It's a 2-year deal. That's what he'll do. Come in, almost like a mercenary, Dave, come in and kind of win trophies, come out and leave. And, it's kind of actually exactly what you want to see over at Bayern. Tabata Duda, I said, he actually kind of played the likes of Gnabry, Sane, Coman, for that left mid sort of position when they won that Champions League in 2019. Then he comes back and, plays a huge part in Conte'S Scudetto winning side, like you said. I mean, the guy's just a proven winner, and that's what he'll show to Kane and Son.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, he's used to playing against low-block teams by playing the Serie A. So he's going to help us with that.
100%. And if anyone wants an example of what he can bring to this team, look what Luka Modric and Benzema bring to Real Madrid. That experience, dragging them through some of the games. You've seen them drag them through this season in terms of Champions League, etc., etc. Look how Benzema has eventually helped Vinicius Jr. Look, it didn't start off great, but look, this season, he's playing more to his tune. He can help players. He can help develop young players to become better. And that's exactly what he'll bring to Tottenham. And plus, it puts an end to this whole thing. Like, I keep seeing things where we're like shifting the goalposts. It's like, okay, great, we got the investment. And then it's like, have we signed anybody yet? Why aren't Tottenham working in the market? Look what Aston Villa have done. Look what this team have done. Couldn't care less. We done this in January. Oh, look, they got in Coutinho. Why didn't we go for Coutinho? Because we had other targets. We had targets that would actually get us to top 4. Kulusevski, Bentancur, that we were working on. People saying it's last-minute deals in January. It wasn't. Kulusevski, we were linked with before going into the window. We were working on it all summer long. We had to wait for them to announce Zakaria, Vlahovic, so that they could have their replacements in before we got them in. That's what happens in the January transfer market. You look at this transfer market, people accusing us. Okay, have we signed anyone yet? Or why aren't we working on anybody? Well, we are. We've been working on this since Monday. And it's swift, efficient business. Again, people moaning that we announced 150 million signing, but then are also moaning that we won't put our public thing out there, our transfer stuff out there publicly. It's just everybody, hit the reset button and just let Tottenham work this summer. Let's see what it can do. Stop with this all, have we signed anybody yet? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we putting this out in public? But why did we put this out in public? This, that, and the other. It's all contradictions. Just sit back, let Tottenham work, and let's see what they can do. I've said time and time again, bringing in Perišić was a change of things at Tottenham Hotspur. When he cleared the deck with the players he did in the summer, look what he done with Aurier, ripped up the contract. Look what he done with Ali. Out you go the door for nothing. He'll probably do the same with Ndombele this season. Bringing in Conte. The January transfer signings we brought in, quality, got us to top 4. Sit back.
Allow the positive signs. Allow the positive signs. Conte would not sign a new deal unless he knew he was being backed, unless he knew he was getting the players in his list. If you look at the news, we're not, this is the first time we're consulting a manager about what players he wants, what list, and we're actually sticking to it. You know what I mean? So I just allow the positive signs and just accept it. Let's just be happy for once.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. But the bottom doer, I mean, look, he really does help out with the squad in terms of left wing, he's quality. We were already saying at the bottom doer, a player that Conte doesn't have to really worry about, a player that Conte can send messages through into the dressing room. Someone that can help our younger players. Someone that can even help if we get to the big occasions next season. That can settle everybody down. It's a brilliant signing for Tottenham all around the bottom. And my man, really appreciate the support, brother, as well. Really do appreciate it. Big yourself
Daniel
up.
Larson celebrating 2 months, saying Klopp and Pep need to F off so we can win the league nice and easy. Big up, Daniel.
No, we'll win it from them. Just believe. And you know what? You know what's crazy? And I can't believe it. Just popped in my head right now about the whole Perišić deal. Inter wanted him to stay. Inter did not want him to leave.
Yeah.
So that's big. You know, the fact that a club wanted him to stay and we attracted him out of a club that he's been in 6 years to come to a new club, that means we got pull, man. That means, you know, Inter are a big club. And I think it speaks a lot to how much they value Perišić as well. And, you know, I mean, it's a huge statement.
100%. 100%. Terry Wright saying Perišić is brilliant football mind. He has a plan. I trust him 1,000%. Jack Jono says Perišić is 33. Is he hard working? Does he track back?
I think he does actually track back more than you would expect a 33-year-old to, that's for sure. And maybe what we're also maybe going to have to accept, Yano, I was actually talking about this, I think, in the back end with Kuva and Dave the other night, where as much as we maybe want to think that Conte wants a really defensively solid wingback, maybe we're actually assuming wrong. Maybe he actually just really wants a wingback that can do a only decent defensive, you know, kind of effort, but really brings that creativity, really brings that sort of, you know, kind of dynamism out wide that you know, that he's been looking for. So perhaps the players like Emerson, Sessegnon, who are like really defensively solid, are not exactly like Conte's favorite type of wingback. So maybe that's just something I'm going to have to get used to, and a lot of us are going to have to get used to. Is he hardworking? No, he still is hardworking. If you just look at him, the guy's still like absolutely ripped for someone that's 33. He still looks like he's in peak shape. He's been playing a lot of football. I think he just played like 35 games in the Serie A alone or something like this last season. So just shows that he's still capable of playing plenty of football. I'm not worried, Yano, especially 2-year deal. It just shows that Perišić is backing himself to be able to put 2 years of hard work in the Premier League in.
Yeah, 100%. And look, 33 is the new 20 nowadays. You know, at the end of the day, honestly, it is, Jacko. You know, before 33, 34, you were absolutely knackered. But now players seem to be playing till about 36, 37, 38. 33 is the new 25. I mean,
it's the new nutrition. It's the new nutrition, it's the new conditioning, the new, you know, system, training facilities that, you know, football has become, you know, it's been modernized, you know. Back then when you had you know, ankle or knee injury, you're basically done. I mean, look at R9, you know what I mean? But nowadays you can get back. You can get back running.
100%. And Paddy says, look at Silva at Chelsea. Exactly, my man. Perfect example. Look at Ronaldo at United, nearly banging 20 plus at what, 36, 37. You know what I mean? Okay, Zlatan, I know he's out for 8 months now, but he's still banging goals. The fucker's nearly 40, you know?
Didn't need it.
Won the Scudetto.
Yeah, 100%. Big up, Paddy. Well, look, I think that'll probably be perfect time to go into the player ratings is what we are here for. Look, so much news to get to with Conte staying. Perišić looks like he's arriving on a two-year deal. 6 million over that 2 years. I mean, unbelievable times to be a Spurs fan. Kane looks like he's all set to sign a new contract as well. And look, so we've covered all that. Let's get into the player ratings, Jacko. Let's do it. Everybody,
plenty of content that's still going to come out about Perišić on this channel as well as the Flat Cap channel. Plenty of stuff is going to be coming out. We're going to have a big, long, you know, kind of season of just talking about the transfer news. Matty Hayes is going to feature on this channel plenty of times. I can assure you, plenty of good people are going to be talking about transfers over here. So no worries. But we are going to go with what we originally planned, which is the season player ratings. And we're going to start with Hugo Lloris here. 43 matches played, 16 clean sheets, which I was told, actually, fellas, was actually more than what we're used to or something with Hugo. This was more than... This is in all comps, by the way. This is all comps. You know, I've combined everything for all comps.
I think what it is, Jack, isn't it more than what we kept under the season at White Hart Lane under Poch, which was our best ever defense.
Maybe that's right. Dave. You might know more than I do. But if I were to summarize Hugo's season before, you know, I let anybody in here, a very solid season. He's actually probably had maybe 1 or 2 games I could point out in particular where he, in fact, kind of saved us. That Aston Villa game, we actually come to think of, that first half against them. He, you know, made some exceptional saves there. There have been some games, I think, against West Ham in the Cup that I actually remember him having an exceptional save there too. So Hugo's, as always, has pulled out some worldies. A few mistakes though as well. Like, let's not get this, twisted.
Game.
A few mistakes this season, and it was actually kind of over. Yeah, Marcel, like that Wolves, Southampton, and then there was another game
City
in there
game
too where he made another mistake, and it was kind of like over a period of time. It wasn't like separated. It was kind of over like a solid kind of consistency of kind of mistakes over a certain period. But I think he recovered from that. I could see why you've given it a 7 here, Marcelo. Maybe that's why I lead you in here. Is it because of those mistakes? Is it because of the distribution isn't great? Why have you given him a 7 instead of the 8 like David and I did?
Look, Hugo, I think is a class keeper, but again, it's like you said, Jack. It's the distribution, and I think over that period of time, I think the Southampton game, I think the Wolves game, I think the City game. I mean, we won that game, but he made it a lot harder for us. And I think those were games where I thought we dropped points solely because of him, especially the Wolves game. We created more chances than Wolves, but he kind of gifted 2 goals, and same thing with Southampton. And when you're in top 4 race, you can't be giving those away. And and also the distribution could have been better. And I wish he would have worked with that.
Like the modern keeper, in my eyes, Marcelo, needs to have better distribution. And as much as I know, we kind of think that someone like Hugo makes up for it with the big saves. Sometimes I think we are hurt by the fact that he can't really ping a ball perfectly to someone.
Especially with Conte's system. Conte's system, he wants a goalkeeper that can pass the ball well. I think it improved, but I think it wasn't good enough, in my opinion. I think the passing in the back sometimes was a little bit too slow, and he was kind of a reason for that.
Dave, the 8, why are you giving him an 8?
Look, I can't really discredit what Marcelo's saying with some of the mistakes. I do agree with like the distribution, some of the mistakes. I mean, I paid to go to that Wolves game and he pissed me off. A couple of mistakes there. But at the end of the day, it's how you bounce back. And for me, I think he had a very, very strong end to the season. You look at that game against Aston Villa, single-handedly, them 3 points came because of him. He kept us in it for the first 45 minutes. But not only that, Jack, set pieces was a massive problem. And he's helped kind of counteract that problem with being more commanding of his box.
I agree.
Coming out, catching balls and stuff like that. And he's pulled off some great saves this season. And for me, look, I think you look over the course of the season, outside of Alisson and Ederson, he's been the best keeper. Most clean sheets outside the 2 of them. 16 clean sheets. It's a remarkable season for him. And for me, although he's made a couple of mistakes, imagine just how better his season probably could have been. And I'm gonna stick with my 8. I think an 8 is a good rating on all of that.
Majority of the chat has gone with the 8 here, so it seems like as much as I think Marcelo didn't say anything I would disagree with, and probably was being a bit more level-headed and maybe not as sentimental. The majority of the chat has gone with the 8, so I think we're going to stick with the 8 here for Hugo.
Fair enough.
Move on to Galini. I'll be honest. Someone that I was actually kind of a bit optimistic about when he came in. Young keeper, was supposed to be good with his feet, was kind of supposed to technically have the chance. It's not like we expected him to, but had the chance of maybe staying at Spurs and maybe replacing Hugo or something like that. There was a bit of hype around him. Not too much hype, but, there's some optimism. But I'll be honest, apart from that Chelsea friendly in the beginning of the season, he really disappointed. And I think he started, in the right sort of tone with that Chelsea sort of performance. But ever since then, he's just been shocking. He's been kind of like a Joe Hart in the dressing room, maybe more of somebody that kind of gets along with people than really helps, contribute to the winning mentality that we often talk about with this team. So he was kind of not really what we were looking for in my eyes, Marcelo, with the backup goalkeeper. And I think he went with a -1 or a 1. I'm not sure how, I was going to read that text. So it might be on
it's all right.
Here, but
it's a -1.
-1, correct? Is the -1 correct?
-1. Yeah. Listen, I'll keep it short and sweet, just like his Spurs career. Thank you for the vibes, and hope a safe trip to Italy. That's about it. That's all I have to say about the guy.
Would you give him a Ryanair EasyJet flight back home? Something more than that?
I'll give him an economy trip. You know what I mean? He hasn't earned that.
Dave, you've given him a 4, which is much higher than Marcelo and I have given him. I'll be honest. I mean, I said to you, Dave, that there were some technical errors, that, and I couldn't change the ratings for any of the scores that you gave me, which might be a bit of a lie. But Dave, the 4 here, I mean, what's up with that?
Unexplainable, to be honest with you. I mean, I was just on a high, lad. Maybe the missus was after sorting me out when I woke up or something. I'm not sure, but look, for me, just quickly, I know a lot of people call him a flop, and I agree with it. But you have to understand the whole reason why he was brought in. He was brought in because Hugo Lloris wasn't going to sign a new contract at Tottenham Hotspur. So in order that if the odd case that if it did come to January and he was speaking to other clubs, that we weren't going to be absolutely extorted in the market for a goalkeeper because we already had somebody. So that's the whole reason why I think he was brought here. But look, started off well in pre-season, but it just got worse as the season went on.
Chelsea
game, Chelsea games, long shots from outside the box in Europa Conference League. Times I thought I was watching Joe Hart again, Jack. He was brought in. I don't know what it is about these backup goalkeepers, Jack, but Joe Hart was brought in to bring the cricket to the dressing room and stuff, and then this guy was brought in to be rap god. The new Eminem. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on, Jacko, but yeah, like Jack Marcelo said, short and sweet. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, he was bad from, shots from outside the box. That Chelsea game, he, technically cost us, any sort of chance of trying to claw a result there because he made a huge mistake there. I'll be honest, I think the 2 or a 3 is the most you can give him. Probably less is maybe a bit more accurate. But let's move on to Reguilón. This could be an interesting one here because I thought Reguilón started the season really well. And in fact, under Nuno, and this is just going to put this out here, I know not a lot of players played well under Nuno, but I thought Reguilón actually did play well under Nuno. He's actually, I think at one stage when we were doing stats with Jack Dave, he was consistently the guy who had the most goal-creating actions and the most chances created per 90 in our team for like a solid period under Nuno. But the weird part was the moment that Conte came in, it felt like Reggie was no longer as good as we thought he was, and he just no longer was the player that we thought he could be. We thought that this sort of system of the 3 in the back would be kind of suited, for Reguilón, but it didn't really work out that way. Maybe he's better suited actually for a 4 in the back system. 31 matches played, 4 goals and assists, had a lot of injury issues as well, kind of very niggling sort of kind of injury issues that kind of popped in and out, Marcelo, if you ask me too. So, I mean, thoughts on Reguilón's season?
Look, I think I meant to give him a 4, not a 3. I would say probably a 4. I think 3 is a little bit harsh now thinking about it, but still, I'm not going to take back the score. I'm gonna prove my point because, in my opinion,
like 5 max. So you might be right.
Yeah,
like
in my opinion,
right.
For me, 5 is average, and in my opinion, he's been below average, especially under Conte. I think everybody was below average under Nuno because he's a below average manager. But I think when someone like Conte comes in and, he plays a system that you have played before, bro, he's played the system under Seville, you know what I mean? And you just don't exceed in it. I don't know. It's just disappointing for me. He just looked so average under Conte. And, Conte likes that bombing winger, you know what I mean? That's why he's getting Perišić, because he likes that bombing winger. And, the guy has been living for so many wages. He's been, at the club for, a good time now. So I felt like he should have shined under Conte, and he just didn't take up the opportunity. And, then also, the injury prone. This guy's been injury prone for so many seasons now. And I think defensively he's been a shocking under Conte. And I think offensively he hasn't really been that inspiring under Conte either. So for me, he's had a below average season.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Dave, are we being too kind to Reguilón by giving him a 6?
I don't think we are. Look, I think, like you said, Jack, he was the best player under Nuno, actually the most creative player under Nuno, I think you were saying as well. Creating the most chances. And look, I get it maybe towards the end of the season, he was becoming a bit poor and stuff like that. But for a while, he was doing a good job. He was getting up into good positions. He was... Yeah. For me, I don't think he is as bad as everyone says he is. Look, I was going to give him a 5, Jack, but then I thought back, I remember seeing a picture of his girlfriend, and I was like, I'll be honest, that probably does deserve +1. So I think, look, we gave him a 6, and I think 6 is a fair rating. I just don't think he's being as bad as everyone else says he is.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, actually, Dave. I think Reguilón, he's been underwhelming, like Marcelo was trying to, explain, been a bit underwhelming, in this team. But at the same time, has he been as bad as really people like to make him out to be? Definitely not.
Can you remember any major errors?
It's not like he's cost us games at any stage. It's not like, he's been the worst player on the pitch, in certain games. And in fact, like we will say, Dave, it is over the whole course of the season. I know Conte was a huge part of the season, but we have to take Nuno's, tenure into consideration as well. And like we said, he was the best player under Nuno, which I think gives him a bit of a bump up as well. And then under Conte, he was a bit underwhelming, but that's not to say he didn't have occasionally some good games under Conte. I think you can point out Brentford, where he had a really good game at home against them. There was another game, I think he had a decent outing against them. So it's not like he was poor every game, under Conte either. So if you ask me, Dave, I agree with what you said, like underwhelming, but not as bad as people wanted to make it out to be.
Yeah, I like that's the thing. I don't think it's been catastrophic. I mean, look, I've been people giving Davinson Sanchez praise and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not being funny, but Davinson Sanchez has cost us more than what Reguilon has this season.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, to be fair. That's a good way to put it. Maybe move on to Sessegnon, someone who's taken a huge liking under Conte here. Sessegnon, this is an interesting, kind of one to maybe speak about, because you could say someone that didn't really feature at all under Nuno because of injury troubles and whatnot. But then on top of that, like he's just someone that probably didn't maybe meet that, kind of four in the back system that Nuno was really going for. Sessegnon is a very interesting case, if you ask me. I think what makes, kind of his, sort of season interesting is that I was really kind of digging into him, like thinking like, what was the whole point of bringing this guy in if he can barely even make this team? And then eventually under Conte started to make a name for himself, started to, kind of show maybe what he's worth. He's proven to actually be more of a defensive fullback than really of attacking fullback. I think he's better defensively than he is going forward, Marcelo, but he had some exceptional displays this season. And I believe if you go to Sessegnon's backyard, you can find Salah, a few other players, as well, just kind of, hanging out there because he's taken a few players this summer too. Sorry, Marcelo. Yeah.
Listen, I just gave him a 5 just simply because I don't know, like
he's
been
season.
average.
I think you have to look at the whole season too.
Yeah, if you look at the
only played 19 games. Look at that as well.
Yeah,
he's only played 19
like
games.
For me, for the whole season, like I agree with you. If you were to judge him by the end of the season, he would be a 7, 8. But when you asked me about these player ratings, I took into the whole season to account. You know what I mean? And for me, for the whole season, he's been average. But I would say I agree with you. In that Liverpool game, he was superb. In that City game, he was superb. And a lot of the big games, he was superb. But I think he was superb because that's not the whole season. But I also think he was superb because we asked him just for the defensive ability. But I think also the games like Burnley, I think he played against Burnley, or the games where we required like to break that low block. I think it was like Brighton or Brentford. You know what I mean? He looked shocking. He wasn't. Yeah. He was very disappointed. So, and I think a lot of times I found myself wanting a little bit more from him than thinking like, like he did. He was superb. You know what I mean? On top of my head, I can only think of 3 games where he was superb, and for me, that's just not enough for me to give him a 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me,
I'm actually starting to think the 7's a bit generous here.
Like I would say like a 5. Like he's been average. He's been good.
People are saying 5.5. I think you're dead on, Marcelo, with the 5 here. If you had to go with the whole number,
I would say he was average throughout the season. He did the job. I didn't hate on him. I didn't, but I also didn't specifically think like, wow, what a player.
I think you're right, because like you said, if you were to average out all his performances, it's kind of a 5. It's not
also
like, yes, he had
2 goals and assists,
9s, but he had some 4s and some 5s as well.
Yeah, 2 goals and assists in 19 games. For a left wing back. I don't know.
And only played 19 games, and he was injured for a lot of it as well. Like that's my big issue. At one stage, I was saying like, why do we give Sessegnon so much praise when he's a backup wingback and can still barely stay fit as a backup wingback? But to be fair, the reason I gave him the 7 is because he kind of proved me wrong with that by being able to stay fit for the rest of the season, and be able to ride out the high. But Dave, I think we're being too kind with the 7. I think like a 6 is probably a bit fairer here. Or do you think the 7's better?
No, I think 7 is warranted. I mean, you look at the game he had against Liverpool, put Mo Salah in his pocket twice, plus set up Sonny for the goal at Anfield. I think he done a marvellous job on Mahrez. I think he's come up against some of the best players in the Premier League that they have to offer, and he's absolutely pocketed them defensively. Look, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's been a few average performances. Again, like Marcelo was saying, Brighton, Brentford, I was left wanting more. But you could say the same for the whole team. Everybody was poor that day. The
Yeah, but
back was poor that day. You know, I do get what you're saying. You want more in terms of, you know, beating his man. I agree. I would love him to take it on. I'd love to see more confidence. But I think, look, I have to say this. Against Wolves, I was there, and he was taken off very, very early in the game. And he could have easily dropped his head, but he didn't. He came back.
That's true.
And for someone at such a young age to be taken off in front of your home crowd like that, and I get it. Like, every Spurs fan that was there was like, we understand why he done it. It's a tactical change. He's not really the problem. We made that tactical change more to suit someone like Harry Winks and stuff like that. But, you know, the perception given is that, like, you know, if you're taking someone off like that, the perception mostly given out is that he's been the problem. That's why you're taking him off. And to hold his head high and come back fighting and swinging the way he has done, I think 7 is warranted. I think 7 is fair.
Look, I don't hate Cesc. I actually really like him. I think, you know, he loves Spurs.
Me too.
And I think he's a dedicated player. I don't know. I just wish a little bit more
I agree, Marcel.
technical skill from my footballer in my football club. I want a little bit
I've
more.
been saying this the whole season.
A little bit more
I'm
flair.
glad you're saying this. I've been saying this the whole season about him, despite how much I really like him as a person, despite how much I think he's a good influence in the squad. He's a good, you know, kind of vibe and personality in the squad. I've been left wanting at times with him. I've been left wanting. And also because there's a big fee that we are sometimes ignoring with his, you know, kind of, he was brought in for what, 27 million pounds? He's brought in for more than Emerson, you know, was. Yeah. And I'll be honest, this is finally the season where we're kind of seeing maybe the player that's in there finally, you know, but it's been a while. And I think, you know, this is why I feel like that 5 is more accurate, Marcel. If I were going to actually switch it up, I'd go to Marcelo's 5. I know Dave made a good case for the 7, but I'd go to Marcelo's 5.
No, and I respect David's
that would
case.
Be what
I think
I'd be more consistent with what I've been saying about Sessegnon this whole season. Would be more of a 5 than what I just gave. Sorry, Marcelo, came across.
No, I was going to say I agree with what David is saying. I think he's not a player I want to sell or a player I think I think he's a player that could actually really improve in the future, and he seems dedicated, and he seems like, you know, someone that Conte can work with. And I think with Perišić coming in, that's only going to improve him. You know, give him a little bit, you know, understand that technique, that technical aspect of the game. So he's a player that can improve and can be, you know, good for Tottenham. But I think just the season alone, like, I don't know. For me, it's
good case.
Yeah, no, look, that's fair, and I agree. Look, I think, his final ball has pissed me off many times this season.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think he's been
very good.
Defensively, he's been brilliant. Going forward, it does piss me off, and that's why I'm glad we're signing the likes of Perišić and people like that. You know, players that are ready made to go. Look, maybe a 6, but I think defensively, and the fact that he was taken off before halftime against Wolves and responded, which Eric Dier failed to do when Jose Mourinho done it to him in the Champions League against Olympiacos. I mean, for such a young guy to come back like that, I think I'd give him a... Yeah, look, Paddy, that one's going to take a while.
He's going to come.
I already warned him. I need time on that one.
Might as well then move on. Big up Sessegnon, though. It's still a good season as much as... That was a good discussion, though, lads, I must say. Emerson... I'm not sure if we'll have as good a discussion about this one, but I will say I could write a book about this guy's season because he's honestly been like the enigma of like Spurs' season, to be fair. Like, just so inconsistent. You know, he puts in a man of the match one week, Marcelo, then the next week puts in an absolute dross of like a performance. Kind of like Spurs, you know, have been sort of this season. He came in, you know, with kind of mixed feelings. Some people didn't rate him before he even stepped off, you know, the plane. Some people thought, you know, this guy's going to be that defensive, you know, fullback we've been looking for. All of a sudden, we switched to a 5 in the back system, you know, and then we kind of realized he might be kind of useless, you know, in this sort of system because he's like a B-Tech Jose Mourinho fullback, you know, sort of player. He was started off shocking with Conte. And then eventually, towards the end of the season, Marcelo, everybody was dying for the Emerson comps, and everybody wanted to see the Emerson comps, and were, you know, finding him to be their favorite player all of a sudden. It's like he warmed up to people at the end of the season, and he played a fair amount of games. You know, he did extraordinarily well in all the big games. So against Man City, he played well. Against Liverpool, he played well. Against the likes of a Burnley and people like that, he really just disappointed, and that would probably be an understatement. But Marcelo, what have you made of his season? I mean, this was a weird season, I'll be honest. So up
Look,
and down.
it's personal with me with this guy.
It was a roller coaster. Had loop to
Yeah. No, it's personal with this guy, because I backed him. He's my fellow countryman, and I'm not gonna lie. I received loads of flame and banter coming my way when this guy had, like, every time he had a bad game, I had to hear from Stelios. I had to hear from Will. I had to hear from all those sort of people. Oh, Emerson. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, is he Brazilian and stuff like that. So for me, it kind of helped out with the 4. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh with him because I think he's been good. I think he's been, all right. I think a 5 or a 6. I think I agree with your guys' score, but I'm going to take a little bit personal because, he is my countryman and he did kind of let me down in the beginning of that season. So for me with the 4, it's basically, he's just been very inconsistent. It's like you guys said, you know what I mean? The guy sometimes looks like he never played a football in a day in his life to, then freaking, then he looks like, he can't get past him, bro, but like, I don't get it. And then, his technical ability, oh my God. Sometimes I did, honestly, sometimes I did wonder he was Brazilian. Sometimes I wanted to check his passport because honestly, like sometimes, like he did not play like a Brazilian, bro. You know what I mean? No flair, no, the beautiful game, that represents us. So for me, it was a little bit personal with the guys. So I don't know. I'm sticking with the 4, and I'm not changing it. But I do like him. I do like his personality.
And he's also probably is like next to Sonny. I said this before, Marcelo. I think he looks exceptional, when you would be modeling for the kits, for next season as well.
Yes.
I think he's someone worth keeping around, just for the photo shoots alone. But Dave, that's not really a football related matter. When you look at it, 41 games played, only 2 goals and assists created, but he did have some solid defensive displays. He seemed to not really be a bad influence in the dressing room. A lot of people got along with Emerson by the looks of it. He was a shocking footballer when it came to certain moments, that's for sure. What have you made of Emerson's season, Dave? I mean, honestly, a roller coaster. It really was.
First of all, I want to start this off by saying, I know a lot of people criticize this guy. But let's not forget who he had before he came in. Serge fucking Aurier. Now, that guy was liable to give away a penalty, a free kick in a dangerous position. He was liable to give away a goal. And let's be honest.
Attitude.
I know people say about, he can cross a ball.
Yeah, managers didn't like him.
I mean, Big Whoopi can cross a ball, but he can't pass a fucking football. He could not pass a football. And it was a major part of the problem why we could not play out from the back. With Emerson, I think he came in. I actually think he started well. I think defensively he was solid. Okay, he had that bit of a period, but we have to remember the whole team was going through a bit of a lull at that time. And as the season come to a close, his confidence was there. He was making overlapping runs. He was starting to play football against Liverpool. I thought he was one of the best footballers on the pitch. He was on the ball. He was playing 1-2s. And there's a player in there with this guy. And for me, I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as people say. People have very short-term memories. All you have to do is think back to Serge Aurier. The guy was an absolute calamity. He was a clown. He used to cost us every single week. For me,
and also on top of that, I will say this with Serge Aurier, he had a bad mentality. He was a bad egg, and when things went wrong, you saw in that dressing room, it got very toxic and vile. Yeah. But with Emerson, even when he was down, the guy always had a smile on his face. Didn't complain. Didn't leave the dressing room. He backed the team, and that's something I got to give the boys, credit for.
We also have to understand as well, like some players are going to take time to settle in. Nobody is going to come into this club. Well, actually, Kulusevski and Bentancur did, but not everybody's going to come into this club and, hit the ground running. He's also had to transition from a right back to a right wing back, asking a lot more out of him going forward. And to me, when Matt Doherty went, everyone was sitting there saying top 4 hopes were over. Well, Emerson came in and he wasn't a big play. He wasn't a problem. He came in and he continued on where he left off, and we were still playing football. I just don't think he's had as bad. Look, I get that maybe sometimes, and like Session, his crosses can be left wanted. But all in all, I think he's been okay this season. I like him. I think he's a good guy.
Plus, comment here, Dave. There's a narrative about Emerson that seems to override his actual performances.
There's been a narrative all over the summer You know, Perišić coming in, put down before he even got here. Gil coming in, put down before he got here. Galini coming in, put down before he got here. Emerson coming in, put down before he got here. Romero coming in, put down before he got here. Kulusevski, Bentancur, put down before they even arrived here.
Put down
and it happens. It's been happening all the time. The fact that I've given Perišić a nickname, the Don, which I think he is a Don, by the way, now, definitely 100%. I always have done. But the fact that I've given the guy a nickname and it's been debated on nearly all over social media, on nearly every Spurs channel going, it's ridiculous. It just goes to show how much people really want to put people down before they get here. I choose to support my club and do it in a positive way. I just don't believe that we should be putting people down before they even get here. And that seems to be the case with a lot of our signings we've made. And for me, I actually just don't think he has been as bad as people make him out to be.
I think there has been a tendency, actually, especially when it comes to this season, to kind of put down players before they've even stepped on the pitch, to put down directors of football before they've even, taken the office. And for us, especially this channel, to even back people who haven't done anything wrong yet, players and people who are just new to the club, we just want to back them, wish them the best, to turn things around. You're right, Dave. I mean, at stages we were even slated, for doing that, for, trying to wish the best for these sort of players. So I actually completely agree. I think Emerson, and I've said this before, Dave, is a bit of an enigma of the actual season itself, where someone that was not really rated or even, given any sort of chance before he even stepped onto the pitch. And then by the end of the season is like almost like a bit of a cult, sort of kind of like loved, kind of hero kind of in the team now in kind of a sarcastic kind of way. But I don't know. I think he's an enigma of the season, if you ask me.
Ask yourself, where was Kyle Walker at this guy's age? Kyle Walker was on loan. Danny Rose was on loan at this guy's age. He's been asked to step into a Tottenham team that has been in disarray this season. Absolute disarray at times. And for me, I just don't think he has been as bad as people say he is. Plus, he gets an extra mark for that. He's given me the most iconic image ever from a North London derby, holding a flare while Tottenham players are celebrating a goal on our own stadium against the bloody filth. For me, that warrants an extra point anyway. I'll probably
That's true.
To a 7. Probably bump mine up to a 7, Jack. Fuck it. Let people debate me and mock it. Fuck it. Bump him up to a 7. There'll be a debate everywhere now.
Bump him up to a 7. Everybody bumps him up a point. Everybody bumps him up a point. Lee Richards saying, headlined in Independent, Spurs beat Chelsea and Juventus to Perišić signing. Who would have thought we'd see headline like that 6 months ago? Almost unreal at times at Spurs. All down to Conte and Perišić. Absolutely, Lee. And it's going to be a very busy summer ahead. And for once in our lifetime, it feels like, Lee, Spurs are actually having a busy summer right away. They're not waiting, to do the business. They're not taking their time. Busy right away, my man.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next right wing back that we've used this season, and Matt Doherty. And maybe I'll go first here, lads. I've given him a 7 because I know Matt Doherty has been honestly one of the most shocking signings. If I'm going to be really straight here, I would take back that signing despite what he's done this season. I thought that was one of the most shocking signings I've ever seen made when Steve Hitchen brought this guy into the club. It just made no sense. The fact that we even paid money for this guy in the first place is just unbelievable, if you ask me. And it wasn't a free signing or anything like that. We actually paid Wolves for this player. He's turning like 31 or something next season too, or already is 31, if I'm not mistaken, which already speaks again to how ludicrous that signing was. But 24 matches played, 6 goal contributions in 24 matches. When he did take the pitch, he was actually kind of lights out. There was I think a few games or like a couple of games under Conte when I actually thought Doherty was really shocking and really frustrating under Conte. But there was some sort of transformation at one stage that I wrote down that we actually saw with Doherty, where all of a sudden he was doing everything that Conte wanted. And all of a sudden Conte loved Doherty. He was like one of his favorite players, in the team, and was saying that he was a real, focal point and, kind of that, winning surge that we were having. And if you actually look at it, the reason I've given him a 7, my final little point here, if Doherty had stayed healthy for the rest of the season, I think top 4 would not have been nearly as sweaty as it probably was, because Doherty was such a focal point in that team. Because when we had the liberty to pick between a really defensive wing back and Emerson for certain games, like a Liverpool or something like that, and then we could use Doherty against the Brentfords, against the Brightons, I think he would have gotten us points against Brighton and Brentford and teams like that. I think he would have helped us out, a lot. So I've given him a 7 for that reason, just because I thought he did the best that he could when he did take the pitch. He was shocking under Nuno. He was shocking under Jose. Again, I would take back the whole signing if I could, but I would give him a 7 actually, because I mean, look at those goal contributions.
Yeah.
And he would have gotten us top 4 if he had stayed healthy.
Yep. Do you want me to take this?
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah.
I think I would have given him a 7. I think 6 is a little bit harsh. I think he has been actually very above average this season. I think he's been very good. I think he's been a solid player, and kudos to him, because I thought there was no place for Matt Doherty in this team. I thought there was no place for him. I thought he was just a done footballer, and he came in and he really proved me wrong, and he really did well, and that shows a lot of grit and shows a lot of character. And I agree with you, Jacko. I think if Doherty hadn't been injured, we would have secured top 4. And I think
Brighton and Brentford, I think we would have played a much better game. I think we would have played a much better game.
In those games, especially against like Leeds and Everton, he was so key to our attack. He was really bombing, and he just looked like a solid player, man. And I thought, wow, like he's really coming into that system. And you know what? I can't fault him for those past seasons, because I was saying he's a right wing back. You know what I mean?
And we were playing. Just blame Hitchin then. You just blame
Hitchin because I was always saying, like, if Jose is bringing him in, is because he expects him to be a bombing wing, right back or right wing back. You know what I mean? And add that attacking element. But they brought him in for and Jose wanted to play him for defensive purposes, and it's just that just puzzles me. And same thing with Nuno. I thought when Nuno came in, it's like, all right, he's finally going to go to a back 3 and play him as a wing back, and he never did that. He never utilized that. So I can't fault him for that. And I think under Conte he played really, really well, and I thought he definitely helped us secure top 4 with those performances. So I would switch it to a 7. I would switch it to a 7.
I think if you give Emerson a 6, which I think Emerson deserves.
Yeah, you have to give him a 7.
Don't get me wrong. I think you have to give Doherty the 7, because Doherty at the end of the day was
miles better
in certain games. He was the difference in certain games where like Emerson had a few kind of sort of man of the match performances, but I think like Emerson didn't exactly get us top 4 in the same way that maybe Doherty got us top 4. But maybe David might disagree. Maybe they get the same rating. I don't know, Dave. What do you think?
I think I'd give them the same rating. Being honest, yeah. Look, you look at his goals and assists. I think, look, he was always an attacking right back. I still think defensively, though, he's found wanting an awful lot of the time, and I think I found him wanting an awful lot of the time this season. I think being outjumped by Ronaldo. And look, I know people are going to say it's Ronaldo, this, that, and the other, but it was like 4 or 5 games in a row. He gave away that corner against West Ham because he couldn't control the football. And there's been a number of it happening over the course of the season. And he went through a period there where just every set piece coming in, he just could not deal with it. He was being outjumped, beaten by his man. But look, going forward, I think he definitely came to the fore at the right time. But if I'm being honest, I think it was more a 5-6 game spell that a lot of that came in, to be honest with you.
That's
it's not
true.
Like it's been dragged out over the season and it's been consistent. It was more like a 5-6 game spell where a lot of them goals and assists came. And look, it did come at the right time.
He was good at Leicester. He played his part in Leicester.
Yeah, he came off the bench and had that run against Leicester, 100%. But just for me, I just think, look, over that 5-6 game period where a lot of them goals and assists came, fair enough. But over the course of the whole season, I still think 6 is a very fair rating for the guy. Look, like Cooper says here, he was dropped from the team. He didn't sulk like Bergwijn. He went away, worked on his game, came back, and got himself back into the team and took his opportunity. And I mean, you can only applaud people that do that instead of people that sit in the press after Europa Conference League game making excuses. This guy didn't do that. He went away, worked on his game, came back, took his opportunity. But I do think 6 is an overall. It is fair. I do think we're getting a bit carried away because he had that 4, 5, 6 game spell.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. I don't know if I can even argue with that, but I think I'm just kind of putting a lot of weight on that 4, 5, 6 game spell, Dave, because that 4, 5, 6 game spell was sort of a huge contribution to where we got to in top 4. But I think you're right, though, because when you look at, again, what Marcelo has done very well so far with all of his ratings, looked at the whole season, you kind of have to, you can't just ignore the times when Doherty was useless to us at, the
Yes.
games. And even though maybe it wasn't his fault, like maybe Marcelo said, still like he was pretty shocking for us, even when we did ask him to do something else. He's such a weird player where you need to play him in his perfect position. And even in his perfect position, it's not like he's giving you 9 out of 10 performances. He's giving you like 7 or 8s, from that perfect position. And I think Dave made some pretty good points there. But I must say, I think his contribution can't be unnoticed, for this season. So maybe that's why I gave him the 7, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, no, fair. Look, I'm not arguing. I'm not going to argue with anyone that's giving a 7. I mean,
just
fair.
Really good conversation. The wingbacks, I think, all had a good conversation. To be fair, which kind of makes sense. It was probably the Achilles heel of this whole season was the wingbacks. Tanganga, this could be an interesting one. I mean, he started off really strong, guys. I mean, Man City, another few games as well where we were thinking this guy's that hard hitting, kind of right back that just makes everybody scared to play on his side. And then the moment we switched over to Conte ball, this guy just fell apart. And I must say, he's never been gifted technically on the ball either. Even under Nuno, he did give the ball away a lot of times, let's be honest. And even actually under the last days under Nuno, he wasn't even doing too well, to be fair to him. So it started off really well for Tanganga. Dave, if you mind if I go to you first, maybe this time. It started off really well for Tanganga, but didn't exactly finish well.
Started off very well. I mean, he pocketed Sterling and Grealish in the one game. Absolutely brilliant start. But the Crystal Palace game, Jack, it was really starting to unravel. Got sent off, rash. He was a bit rash as well. Felt sorry for him. But he just didn't really kick on from there. Didn't really improve. Of course, got the injury and failed to come back. But yeah,
made some mistakes under Conte, Dave, because remember when we were desperate for center backs, he came in and he made a few mistakes in a row. Under Conte that cost us, in fact, some games. Let's be honest, it cost us some games.
Yeah, he just couldn't get the form that he started off the season with, Jack. And look, out injured for most of the season as well. I mean, look, what can you say about the guy? I'll stick with a 5. He hasn't been great apart from that game against City in a little run. From Palace onwards, he was absolutely muck, and then he's been out injured.
Tangangsta, what have you thought of the season?
I only gave him a 6 because of the name.
What do you think is better, though, the 5 or the 4? Then maybe I'll ask you this: what's better?
No. I think I personally, if it wasn't for, I don't know, I just like Tanganga, man. You know what I mean? Part of me likes him. He's one of our own, and I just, just see him kick Jack Grealish on loop was just hilarious. And the fact that I can have a Twitter name because of him, I love him. But yeah, no, I think you're more accurate, Jacko. I think it's a 4, probably a 3 even. I think he's been horrendous. I think he's been horrendous under Conte. Other than that City game and a few games under Nuno, he's been shocking, bro. He hasn't done it. It's almost every time we put him, he's been calamitous. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's been injury prone in the Leicester game, a big reason that Leicester game was so sweaty was because of him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the Chelsea game, I mean, those 2 Chelsea legs, he alone cost us those 2 legs. Yeah. Really, if you really think about it. Yeah. So he's been calamitous. If you want to ask for my real rating, I would give him a 3. He's been one of our worst defenders this season.
Yeah, I think a 3 or the 4 is probably more accurate. And we'll talk. There's a big series that's going to be happening this summer on this channel. We're going to be doing kind of the buy, loan, sell, kind of series over here, but we're going to be doing it kind of a bit more broken up. And I think Dave and I will have a really good episode on Tanganga. Maybe what might be the best sort of career move, maybe for him. Will be a good subject to talk about the best career move for him. But someone who only played 10 matches, and I'm not even sure if he got 1,000 minutes. I really doubt that he did in all competitions. 10 matches played, though, or at least featured. I mean, this guy barely played a lick of football. I'm going to actually go first again here, lads. And I'm just going to say this quickly about Joe Rodon. I never really rated him because when I first saw him come into the club, I noticed that he just really had no technical ability on the ball whatsoever. He was one of those old school defenders that just is really good at clearing his lines, really good at, just screaming at, his defensive partner whenever, things are needed to stay switched on. But he's just like a championship defender at best. Like, I'm going to be really clear with this. Like, I think he is a championship defender at best. I don't really see him making it with any sort of side that wants to try to play progressive football. People have said like teams like Brighton are the best team for him. I think he doesn't stand a chance to try to play for a team like Brighton because he's not good enough on the ball to play for a team like Brighton. There's no way that sort of distribution, that they really want from their center backs, they could get from someone like a Joe Rodon. As much as he is like dependable, I think defensively, he is nothing more than that. And I think we have to like be really honest with ourselves about that, is when we play for a team like Spurs who are trying to get for top 4, it's not just about getting stuck in for me, Marcelo. It's about also being able to play passes that open up the game. It's about being able to not lose your head and lose your cool in situations, because sometimes you see Joe Rodon, you'll see him clear his lines. Like you'll see him not get 30 feet into the stands when there's no reason to at all, just play a pass there. But because he's sort of a championship defender, he plays like a championship defender, and that's kind of my issue with him. So I've never really rated him, and so I'm going to be honest, I think the 0 or like just a non-applicable or whatever is probably the best sort of rating for him, because I just never rated him.
Yeah, listen, I called him the Welsh Maldini, bro. He turned out to be the Welsh Sissoko, man. You know what I mean? No technical ability on the ball, and it's the reason why 3 managers haven't started him at all. And I'm not gonna really hate on him because he didn't even play for us. You know what I mean? Can you even call him a Spurs player? You know what I mean? Like he fuck. When he showed up for the North London derby, I was like, oh, that's Joe Rodon. I mean, like I had to be like, whoa, he still plays for us. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like. Nah, no, none for me really.
10 matches,
0.
10 matches played. Like,
and I doubt.
The crazy thing, 4 different managers. Like, if let's say just 3. So Jose, I guess occasionally Jose played him more than anybody else, but that's because Jose got really desperate at a certain stage. But Nuno, Conte, and Jose never rated him. Clearly,
no.
That's also a huge sign.
Yeah, for me, it's a none. Really, the 0's a none. Is like you. I mean, you might as well been a fan. You might as well been, one of the fans in the stadium,
Yeah. Look, for me, I gave him a 2 because he made an appearance in the North London derby and won that header at the end. It was crucial for us,
We're 3-0 up.
He's just not
like a fan
would. He's not good enough for Tottenham. It's he should never have been here in the first place. I understand why we done it. There was a potential he could grow, and maybe Jose Mourinho could work with him. But look, I
think Bale had a lot to do with that deal.
But as well, I mean, the fact that he's Joe Rodon, it's probably why Dier has played so much at centre back. I mean, Joe Rodon hasn't been exactly stiff competition, which is where Conte said he sees him. So he's been kept out of the team by Dier as well. I mean, look, he's just not good enough. But he did play in 10 games. So I will give him a 2. I think it's harsh to give him 0.
I think that the 0 is more or less just because he never played, and then I'm just giving him a 0 because that's how much I'd rate him. Is maybe like that's how far I go.
Yeah.
Just don't really rate the guy. Like, and that's not being harsh to him. I think it's like a Steve Hitchens sort of signing where you're like, you've signed, like Kuba said, Dave, you signed a championship defender. Like, what did you expect? And he's developed into a championship defender at this club. So I can't really blame him for that, but I'm not going to like give him any points like people have. I think it just got a bit ridiculous when people were saying I don't rate Sanchez, but when people were rating Rodon ahead of Sanchez, I'll be honest, I still rate Sanchez ahead of Rodon at the end of the day, because I think Sanchez has a career in the Premier League. Rodon does not have a career in the Premier League, if you ask me, when you really look at it at the end of the day. Eric Dier, this is, I mean, I don't know how much we are going to spend time on this, but Moon Boots was given a better rating by Marcelo than the rest of us. Dave, you and I have spoken a lot about how, despite how good this of a season Eric Dier has had, we've seen him as the likely culprit for a lot of goals this season. But to be fair, he has been extremely consistent. He's a leader in the back line. He's a leader in the dressing room. He doesn't really draw too much attention to himself. He's the kind of like influence and vibe that Conte is looking for in that dressing room. And he's had a fair few solid displays for this team. I wish he had taken more free kicks this season because maybe he would have gotten a goal. But Marcelo, you've given him an 8 instead of a 7 like we have.
Listen, I think on technique alone, look, last season people were saying he had a good season and, he improved under Jose. I didn't see that, but I did see it this season. I think he really did improve his technique. I really think defensively he was, solid more than he usually is. I think that was his letdown. But I think the reason why I give him an 8 is most of all that leadership ability that you talked about, Jack. Because I remember there was a period of time, I think Eric Dier was injured, and we were playing, Romero, Sanchez, and I think Tanganga, and we looked all over the place. You know what I mean? And also Davies, we looked all over the place. We looked like we couldn't communicate. And, as much as I love Romero, and I think he's our best defender, I think Dier almost kind of became that spine in our defense. You know what I mean? That kind of.
Do you think he's a glue?
I think he was. I think he really was. I think he really was the person that could coordinate the defense and kind of keep it structured and well. Because when he didn't play, we looked so flaky in the back at times. We looked so not flaky, but almost unorganized. Players out of place, and you can see, him shouting commands and telling players to go there and do that. And I think also the fact that he can speak different languages allowed him to communicate with Romero very well and help Romero, kind of come in the club and really, adapt well. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like he was a very special part of that defense, in my opinion. I still think we can improve on him because I think his technical ability and sometimes awareness is what cost us some goals. I think the Brighton game, he just looked like he was doing his grocery list. He has that in him, but man, like I can't fault the guy. He really stepped up when Conte came in.
Dave, I'm just going to step off camera for a little bit. I can tell you have a lot to say here. So in case, you do it nice and quickly, feel free to move on to the next player. But I know you have a lot to say here, Dave. So I'm just going to leave it to you here.
I actually disagree with a lot of what Marcelo has to say. I mean,
fair enough.
Look, when you have a back line of Davies, Sanchez, and Tanganga, I mean, look, first of all, Sanchez cannot control a ball, pass a football, or doesn't know where the ball is, where it is in the air. I mean, so Roden is his backup. Tanganga, I mean, has been absolutely awful this season. So it's not very hard for someone like Eric Dier to step into this defense and look
better. Yeah.
I mean, I could do that. You could put me out there and I would make that defense look better. It was absolutely shambolic. I think the fact that I actually think the likes of Sanchez, how crap he's been, and Tanganga, and at the time, because of how bad they are, they make Dier look good. I think with Dier, I still don't think technically he's improved whatsoever. His first touches a lot of the time is shit. His passing a lot of the time is shit. I think people are praising him for going and winning all these balls in the air. I don't agree with either. I think Romero, in fact, when the ball's being played up to strikers, is the one winning them headers. I think if you look at our most costly defender this season, I think it's Eric Dier. I think he drops off. His first instinct is to drop off rather than engage. He won't block shots. He keeps turning his ball on the football. And for me, I just think a lot of the times, you look at the Brighton, the likes of the Burnley games, stuff like that, games we're losing, you're looking. Defense, move the ball across quick, get it into your midfield. This guy is standing there taking 8, 9, 10 touches. He just does not get it up here. And for me, I think all this praise, I don't think is warranted. I think you look at our defense, the fact that you look at our backups, they made him look good. In fact, all this praise that people are giving him, he's had absolutely nothing to do in a lot of these games. It's been Romero and Davies that have had the most to do. He's had absolutely nothing to do. I'll go back to that Newcastle game. People coming off. Eric Dier had a great game. No, he didn't. He had nothing to do. Dier and Romero were the ones winning the balls, passing it out from the back, doing everything else. All this guy had to do was pass it from Davies to Romero. He had nothing else to do all game long. And I just think he's been severely overrated. I think you watch, we get another defender in here. I think maybe Dier starts the season, but I can guarantee you now, over the course of next season, he will be out of that team. He is nowhere near as good as I think people are saying. Now, don't get me wrong. Credit where credit is due. He stepped into this team and he stepped up at times. And he's performed a hell of a lot better than what he has last season. But that wasn't hard. He was an absolutely calamity last season. But you go back and watch a lot of the games, and I encourage people to do this because people say it's a dire agenda. It's not. Go back and watch a lot of the games. And especially the games where people praise him for. He's had fuck all to do. He's had absolutely nothing to do.
I think in my opinion, I disagree with you there, David. I think what he had to do is there's a lot of things that you don't see, because I will agree with you with the technical ability. No, hold on. Let me just explain. Yeah. I think his technical ability, I do agree with you. It's not good enough. It's not good enough if we want to challenge for the Premier League. It's not good enough if you want to, be, a consistent top club. And I think he has a calamity in him still. But I think what he's done under the scenes, I think the leadership, I think the ability to communicate with him, Romero and Davies, I think him being able to, help them drive off the pitch while being that kind of back anchor. And I think some of the tackles he's made this season has been really, he's kind of built the spine in our team. And I think the performances in Leicester where he didn't play, and I think Chelsea where he didn't play, it really showed that we did kind of depend on him quite a lot, this season, because when he didn't play, we looked so unorganized. So I think what he did to help us this season is he helped us stay organized. And I think that's almost just as important as having that technical aspect, someone that can, have a clear voice and, keep the team organized. And I give him an 8 because he did the job and he did it well, in my opinion.
Dave, you made a good point. I just want to emphasize this, and I know you're going to make another point, but you made a good point about how the competition that he has makes him actually look better than what he really is. Maybe if you want to elaborate on that more, I thought that was actually a good point about Doherty.
And this is what I'm saying as well. People also praise this guy for
because he's competing with Joe Rodon. I mean,
with Joe Rodon? He's competing with Sanchez. But remember, when he came back, I think Tanganga left out of the team. Sanchez went right centre back, but things were still bad. Things only really improved when Romero came back from injury and slotted in at that right centre back. That's when the defense really, really started looking solid. People have short-term memory when it comes to these sort of things. It's only when Romero got fit and slotted in there that defense really started to look solid. People praise this guy for being multilingual, but then go and get a job as a translator. I'm not praising
but you can't.
I'm not praising football.
That's important.
For being multilingual. No, it's not important. I'm not praising him for being
It's important for Romero. It helps.
It's not. Romero's a good player. Romero will fit in any team, any system, whether he speaks the language or not. Being multilingual, okay, great. Go and get a job as a translator. At the end of the day, people call him a leader. I can guarantee you now, and I've gone back, I've watched all these games, some of them 2-3 times, and I've watched them intently. Me and Jack have pulled out stuff, watching these games for tactical breakdowns. Anytime we concede a goal, especially over the last part of the season, it's been down to him. Anytime that teams end up getting shots on our goal, it's because this guy has made a sloppy pass a lot of the time.
That's true. His passing it's bad. And
like I said, people praise him like against the likes of Newcastle when we're slapping team 5-1. Oh, Eric was brilliant today. He had nothing to do. Dier and Romero, or Davies and Romero have been the busy defenders. Dier has had nothing to do. Honestly, I'm about 6 stone overweight, and I could course that centre back between Davies and Romero because they do all the work. And at the end of the day, I just look when it comes to Dier, I think people are getting overhyped about this guy. And I will reiterate this: do not come crying to me when he's cost us in the Champions League, when he's cost us at a major point next season, because it's going to happen. I mean, the pass he gave against West Ham for them to go up and score off, he makes games harder a lot of the times. And for me, I just think the praise is not warranted whatsoever. I think he's been severely overrated. People have been praising him. Oh, he's been brilliant in the air. Okay, that good. We've struggled from set pieces all season long. Also, a leader does not allow 2 players to mark each other in the box in the same jersey when the ball's coming into the box. Go back and look at a lot of the games, especially last part of the season. Romero's being doubled up on the back post. Emerson is being doubled up on the back post. You get a still image. Where's Dier? Standing right behind Davies, asking him, is he wearing John Paul Gaultier or Lacoste green? It's absolutely ridiculous.
No, I have to agree with you, David.
It's not allowed 2 players to mark each other. A leader is constantly talking. A leader will see Romero has double the players, so he screams at Davies. Davies, you drop a bit more back in here. I'll go across and help Romero. He is reactive. Let's not forget this. He's the most reactive man I know. It took Romero to come into this club for people to actually understand what a defender is supposed to do. There's levels to this game. Dier is average. And
Dave, I think what I'm gathering from this is that you don't seem to rate Moon Boots very highly. And maybe it's gone so far as perhaps you even love Moon Boots and you want Moon Boots to be better, which is why you're so harsh on him. But Marcelo, anything that David said there that's, come out?
Look, I think maybe I was just trying to be a little bit positive, but Dave is saying a lot of right things, and he is bringing a lot of I can't disagree with them. These are facts. I think the West Ham game really proved right. I think also the game. I think he also gave a wrong pass against Norwich, if I remember, when we were 1-0 up, and yeah. That could have cost us, if that was a better team.
I think it was the same thing when you made that Sessegnon argument where it was like Dave and I wanted to give him a 7, but you gave him a 5 because you were just like, listen, like I want to be sentimental here, but I just can't, And
maybe because I just picked on him for too long. Maybe I felt bad, and I wanted to give him a better score. But yeah, you're probably right. He is probably around that 7, maybe even 6 mark. Where he's been above average. He's been good. But that's about it. He hasn't been special.
Dave, would you agree on that? Has he been above average this season? Eric Dier, if you really were to look at it, I think above average is fair.
I'll be honest with you. Actually, I'll be honest. I don't really remember too many standout games from Dier. I'm going to say average. I do think he's been average. I think Davies and Romero have the ones been doing a lot of defending. You go back to the West Ham game, Jack. We were there. Who won all the headers against Mikel Antonio? Was it Dier or was it Romero?
Romero.
Yeah, Romero.
But yet people praised Dier for that game. Didn't have nothing to do.
Yeah, that's actually true. There are more people weirdly praising Dier for that game, which I didn't understand when we watched that game ourselves. Another thing to be said, though, too, is Dier also did take home the crown for the best own goal of the season by any Spurs player. Almost was as good as Reguilón's. I would say one was more embarrassing than the others. I think Eric Dyer's own goal against Newcastle, if you know what I'm talking about, Marcelo, that own goal against Newcastle, where Reguilón's was a better finish. I think Eric Dyer's was a bit more embarrassing, if I'm going to be honest. Like Eric Dyer's was a bit more like.
I forgot that one.
Is a bit more Phil Jones-esque, or whatever you would call it. But I must say, I think Eric Dier, I disagree with you, Dave. I think he's been above average this season. But I think you raised a really good point about the competition that he has to deal with isn't that high. And we have to take that into consideration, which is why sometimes we get a bit too far with the Dier praise. But he has still gotten us to top 4 in certain games. But I think, Dave, you made a convincing point where games that people did praise Dier for, I was like, I'd never noticed him. Like, he didn't actually do anything, in the grand scheme of things in the game. So you have to look at the fact that he's been the least busy of all the defenders. He hasn't really done the most in possession of all the defenders. Like Davies and Romero do more in possession. He's just kind of been a background sort of defender / leader. And maybe that's his role. But still, at the end of the day.
I'll also say this. I can't remember any man of the matches I would give it to him, but I can remember some that I would give to Davies and Romero, to be honest. So that is true. That is true.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was a really good conversation there, to be fair. And Dave, I think you might have won there, and you probably are quite happy to be, to be honest about it. Good, conversation about Moon Boots.
No, look, it's I don't care whether people agree with me or not, to be honest with you. But all I'm going to say is I've been thinking a lot since I've started YouTube. People have shouted me down, but yet I end up usually being correct.
Dier is my player this season. I love it. Absolutely love it, Adrian. Don't worry, David won't go. He won't unleash on you, Adrian. He won't unleash on you. Ben Davies here. I'm going to be honest, Marcelo, I've had a few moments where, like you said, I've seen a few games for Ben Davies where I gave him man of the match, if not close to the man of the match. And there was even at one stage where James from Spurs Related was on this channel. I nearly broke down crying. I was so passionate about, Ben Davies deserving the man of the match award. I actually think I've even gone as far to say this season, Marcelo, that Ben Davies, perhaps the unsung hero of the season, because I think he's been the most consistent ever since the days of Nuno. He has been the most consistent. I think he's been better than Eric Dier. this season. I'll go further again. Another hot take here that you have to take in here, Marcelo. I actually feel like Ben Davies is more deserving of his spot next season than Eric Dier.
No. Honestly, like the more we talked about it, the more I want to change my score to an 8 because he. Just now that I think about it, like now that I think about it, he hasn't really put a foot wrong since Conte came in. I can't like you were able to like remind me some games where Dier has been poor. Like Ben Davies, I can't remember. Like sometimes one thing I will wish with Ben Davies sometimes is I do wish sometimes he loses his composure a little bit, and especially with his like when he's under pressure. I think also like the North London derby, he had to get in yellow from Saka, and sometimes in the Liverpool game, he left me wanting some of his passing in the back. Sometimes he would just boot it, up front, and he would boot it to no one. It's not like he was booting it to Son and Kane.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He was kind of just booting it back to the Liverpool player. But I mean, like even then, like, but also Liverpool, playing a high line, you can maybe understand it. We definitely need an improvement. We definitely need Bastoni, someone, or Vardiol or someone of that cloth. But I can't say he's put a foot wrong.
Fault Davies, that's the point. Like,
yeah, and you know what? Like his work rate, was insane. Have you seen his heat map?
He also played more games than Eric.
Yeah,
Dier
more games.
Romero played more games than them too.
And I can't remember one game where he's looked exhausted, and the guy just ran all over the place. So, you know what? Yeah, I would say Ben Davies deserves that number 8 spot. I mean, Arian is probably, he's dancing, he's laughing right now.
I'm surprised he's never shown up here because I've given a few heartfelt speeches like I just did there, Dave, about, Ben Davies. In fact, even that one I just gave
he talks about it.
Of the 8. I know, Arian
he's
talks
just
about it, but he feels quite alone. And I feel like he's like, wow, Jack, do you want to be vice president of the Ben Davies fan club here? Because, Jack, you're giving all these passionate rants about Ben Davies, and I didn't know I had it in me because I actually hated the guy at the beginning of the season, genuinely hated this player. And because I found him to be useless, I found him to be
average,
an impersonator of a footballer. And then all of a sudden, like, I think he's genuinely, for me, unsung hero of the season.
And also that Brighton game. Or what was it? What was the game where we went? No, Newcastle game where we went a goal down and, he came back and scored a goal. And, I mean, like he's been a very vital player for us, man. So I got to give my hats off to Ben Davies. He really helped us achieve top 4. So yeah, I'm going to change my score to a 7 to an 8 to really, he's been our second best defender.
Would you lower your Dier one or would you keep it still at an 8 there?
No. I'll probably lower Dier to maybe a 6 or a 7, but I'll give him a 7 just to be a little bit positive. But Davies, definitely an 8. Definitely an 8.
Davies, thoughts?
Do you know what? Look, I'm a big believer in standing up if you got things wrong. And look, with Davies, I think as a left back he was finished, but as a left-sided centre back, he's been playing it for Wales and he slotted in right at home for Tottenham. And I think this season long, I think he has been probably Mr. Consistent. And look, I don't really remember too much that he's done wrong this season. I mean, he's helped us going forward at times, Jack, especially earlier on when Conte came in. And he's helped us out massively defensively as well. And, for me, look, I think 8 over the course of the whole season is solid. I think, look, a lot of people talk about Dier, but I actually think this guy has been better. I think he's been probably the most improved player under Antonio Conte, if not bar Sonny. I mean, so for me, I think definitely Davies, I think, is an 8. I think he's been a lot better than Dier. And I stick to what I say. I think even if you do get into Bastoni, I think eventually one of them will be moved to centre-back and Davies will keep his place in the team over Dier next season.
Matty Hayes in here saying live footage of the Don Fabio cooking Dave like the best gif we've ever seen is, the guy doing the huge
he's
walk.
like
huge walk doing all the cooking. But I would say, a huge point, though, is that Don Fabio, he did have to do a lot of cleaning of the kitchen in January. And now, finally, he's able to do a bit of cooking. He's still doing a bit of cleaning. But he's also doing a bit of cooking at the same time here.
Well, Jacko, let me ask you this. Before a chef, makes his recipe, what does he need? He needs a clean kitchen. So, you know what I mean? So, like, Yeah. So, before he cooks, he needs a clean kitchen. So he cleaned up Tottenham. And David, all three of us, by the way, all of us said this, cleaning up the kitchen was just as important as getting players in. Because there was a toxic...
Need a sanitary kitchen myself.
Yeah, there was a toxic mentality at Spurs. And you saw a different mentality at Spurs at this season. I think that was a big reason why we got top 4. Because whenever we had our downs, whenever we had our lower moments, there was still belief within the team. There was still, fight within the team. And that for me is almost just as important as the skill or, the flair.
Look, we have to remember this guy has to start somewhere. And I know a lot of people complain and all. Well, we moved I think it was 10 out and we only brought in 4 and 1 that's been loaned back out. This, that, and the other. But you have to remember the dross he got rid of. Serge Aurier done nothing but cost Tottenham for nearly 2 seasons. Sissoko could not control or fucking shoot a football. It was getting unbearable. We could not pass a ball 5 bloody yards. So he had to clear the deck and he's done that. But no one wants to praise him doing that as a massive part of why we've got top 4, bringing in the players we brought. Okay, people may not rate Emerson, but I guarantee you, if we put Serge Aurier back in his team, he'd still be making the same mistakes and wouldn't be able to play from the back. So you should be grateful.
No way we get top 4 with Serge.
No, Romero coming in. If he didn't come in, that defense wouldn't have solidified the way it did when he came back from injury. And we would have been nowhere near top 4. Nobody wants to talk about that. Golini coming, okay, not great. But what if Hugo Lloris decided he didn't want to sign a new contract at Tottenham? We would have had to pay, it would have been about 20-30 million added on to any keeper we would have went looking for.
Guess what? Golini ended up costing us nothing, really, at the end of the day. So it's not like it's just a loan, really. So it's not even like a signing that cost us. I mean, we also got Dejan Kulusevski for 2 loans. You know what I mean? We're gonna buy him next season. So you know what I mean? We basically have a Ferrari for free, pretty much. You know what I mean?
You look at the players he's got rid of. By the way, Lo Celso is reported to be on his way to Villarreal for 15 to 18 million. But you look at the transfer window in January, and look, I went big on this. I said it was a 9 out of 10, and I got laughed at, absolutely laughed at. But I could see what he'd done. Conte, in order for any manager to come in here and stand a chance, you cannot have players like Serge Aurier, who he ripped up his contract in the dressing room. You cannot have players like Dele Alli, who was posting on TikTok while we're in the middle of losing a game on the weekend. You cannot have a player like Lo Celso, who went left. Nobody liked him around the change room. Nobody liked him around Hotspur Way. You cannot have a player like Ndombele. He cleared the deck. He set an example to other players around. If you're thinking about being one of these guys, don't. You be out here Quickstead. He cleared the deck and gave Conte a chance to succeed this season by getting rid of them. Okay, may have left us short in certain areas, but if he would have put it this way, if we would have been short and he would have had to put an Ndombele and Ali or Lo Celso in, it shows the players. Eventually, I'll get my chance. I don't have to work. I don't have to do the right thing. I can just be a dickhead. Eventually, because of injuries and the shortcomings of this squad, I will get my chance. And he cleared the deck. He brought in players of quality, players that you don't have to teach how to control a fucking football, players you don't have to teach how to pass a football 5 bloody yards. He brought in players that can, a Bentancur, who can ping a ball 15, 20 yards. If you want to go further, he can ping a ball the other side of the pitch. What was the first thing he'd done when he came into a Tottenham jersey? I think it was against Brighton. Got on the ball, one turn, got on the ball the next time, sprays a pass right out to Lucas Moura into his feet. Kulusevski, I mean, look, we've had players here like Bergwijn, who people constantly makes mistakes for. He hasn't been given a chance. Oh, he should be playing here. He should be playing there. I mean, we're all
first touch of a donkey.
I'll go, Dave. I'll summarize this for you here. If you want to criticize anything Perišić has done so far, you might as well then be looking up Steve Hitchen's address and being trying to chase that guy out of the country then, because there's no way that you can criticize Perišić in the same breath and then say that Steve Hitchen did an okay job or whatever the narrative is, because you can't criticize one guy with the finest tooth comb, because that's what it seems like with Perišić. The narrative is that we're going to criticize every single breath that the guy makes. Whereas with Steve Hitchen, we're going to just write off 350 million pounds used and maybe 2 signings that were decent to show for at the end of the day, and people are saying like, oh, he wasn't really backed. It's like, well, he still spent 14 million on Matt Doherty. No one asked him to spend 14 million on Matt Doherty. Like, he still spent 15 million on Joe Rodon. No one asked him to spend 15 million on Joe Rodon. So at least, Dave, to summarize your point, I think if you're going to criticize Perišić, you have to, at least in the same breath, then be absolutely unleashing at Steve Hitchen, because there's no way that these guys can be, criticized without the same level of, criticism.
But the biggest point I need to finish on is the fact that if you look at this guy, he didn't make the same mistakes in January. Everyone, because the whole Levy thing was at its highest and everything else, and the tensions were at its highest in the fan base, stuff like that. People wanted another 5-6 players here in the door. Okay, I get it. I would love that. But if the quality's not out there, don't just bring in players for the sake of bringing in players. He cleared the deck for a reason so we could have a summer like this. I said it back then. He is clearing the deck for a massive summer. And people said, oh, the money won't be there. The money won't be there. Look, we've already got Perišić in the door. Jed Spence, I believe, is on his way. Bastoni we're in for. But we brought in quality over quantity, which we did not do before. And that's the biggest thing from that January transfer window. We did not panic. We didn't bring in players just to appease the fans, knowing they weren't the right quality. We brought in the right quality in the right areas. And for that, the fact that you brought in the right quality over quantity, it just means we've learned from before. We can't keep going down this route where we demand 5-6 players to improve everything. He knew Conte's a good manager. Conte would get the best out of these players at the end of the season. But it's about bringing in the quality over the quantity so that we can have a big summer rather than bringing the quantity, which we've made mistakes doing under Jose Mourinho before.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, at the end of the day, if people keep continuing to debate, the result speaks for themselves, bro. The result speaks for themselves. When we had Tengai and Nobele, we had Dele Alli, we had Steve Hitchens, we had those people. We went from Champions League to Conference League. Perišić came in for 1 year and did more than any of those other people we mentioned and got us to the Champions League. So the result speaks for itself, bro. So if you want to get in that Nobele hive, you want to get in that Dele hive, you want to get, you know what? Feel free, join that hive. But that means you're leaving Tottenham Hotspur because Don Perišić, he doesn't accept that. He doesn't accept that hive, bro. You know what I mean? He's a different cloth. So, you know what I mean? If you want to join that, join that. I'm in the results business, and I care about results. And Don Perišić gets the results.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. He gets the results. He gets the job done, and he's improved Tottenham without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah, there you are. Honestly, guys, spectacular conversation about Ben Davies. Spectacular conversation about Perišić. I think even Matty Hayes just said the best €2 he's ever spent, honestly, on a super chat, because he just made David had a few mic drops. I feel like I had a good point there, as well. Just bringing up the fact that, listen, I don't care if you want to criticize Perišić. I really don't. I just think you have to hold every director of football then to the same level of criticism. And then if you're doing that, you might as well be looking up, Hitchen's address, because you would be furious then if you were going to be that, critical of Perišić. Then you might as well just be honestly, just wouldn't even know what to do with yourself if you saw that the business Hitchen did. But we're going to move on, everybody. We're going to move on because we still got plenty of players to get through here. But we are making good time. We are making good pace here because we had plenty to say about the Perišić deal. We had plenty to say about Conte. I think we're making good timing, though, at least, so far, at least on the player ratings so far. Romero, honestly, lads, 9s.
Best
Marcelo,
defender of the
maybe
season.
I'm just going to go to you right away. Why was it an 8? I think maybe the fact that he only played 28 games, that is like a huge factor. Like 28 games.
Yeah, a little bit injury prone.
And Davies played 41, just compare it to the last one. So maybe that's why he's an 8. Is that why?
I think technical wise, he's been our best defender in the season. I think he's our best defender. And honestly, he's probably one of the best defenders in the Premier League. If I'm being honest, he's really that good. And in terms of his technical ability, I have nothing bad to say. But at times, just his injuries, you know what I mean? They kind of, it's not his fault. So, I am kind of being harsh on that. It's not his fault, but, it did kind of hurt us in the beginning of the season. And, certain aspects of the season, we really needed him. It's more to do with, I guess how good he is that, I'm marking him down because we needed him so badly. And sometimes he wasn't there. So, but yeah, he is really a 9. I mean, probably go with 10. Really, I love him.
No,
he's one of my
Marcel,
favorite.
I'm just gonna
He's
applaud
really
you just quickly. You've been very level-headed with every single one you've given because you're not. David and I will be honest. We buy into the hype. We buy into the sensationalism sometimes, and I think the 8 is accurate because the fact that Ben Davies has played 41 games and Romero's played 13 fewer games than that. That's a lot of games.
But I'll say there's the 28 games he's played. Not a single one of them can I complain about, bro. You know what I mean? The guy is spectacular at defending. I mean, and I love his aggression. You know, some people say, "Oh, he's overly aggressive," or no, bro. I love that 2-footed tackle he put on Leicester. That put a smile on my face. It gives me a heart on every time he does it. Every time he decks a player, it's just so satisfying because it's something we've been missing in that back line at Tottenham. You know what I mean? It's something that we've been missing since Toby and Jan left. So I gotta say, man, love Romero, but I think his injuries, it is something to be talked about. My personal opinion.
Do you think you're showing your Brazilian bias against an Argentinian with the 8, like Philly is?
No. Look, listen. As long as he's playing for Spurs, I love him. I love him to death. He's one of my favorite players. But obviously, when he is playing for Argentina, I can put that out, out of the way.
Good answer. Good answer there. Good answer, my man. Dave. I mean, this guy. I think Dave. To be fair, like we might have to do a highlight reaction, to this guy's season on the channel because we're going to probably need to take an intermission. It'll probably only need a 9-minute video, but we'll just need an intermission, Dave, just to kind of wipe ourselves clean because this guy, Dave, has been sensational, in these 28 games. Honestly, the best defender, probably my favorite defender in my lifetime, Dave. I might even go that far. Hot take. My favorite defender in my Spurs fan lifetime. I loved Jan. Jan was spectacular, so silky on the ball. But Dave, I think I like Romero even more. I think I do.
Look, for me, first of all, I do want to point out, from set pieces, he is a bit vulnerable as well. I mean, I remember the Ben Mee at the Burnley. It was Romero's fault.
Yes.
Right, but forget all that. That's the only bad I have to say about this guy. For me, this guy has been an absolute revelation since coming into Tottenham Hotspur. I've been doing my homework on him the last couple of days, and trust me, he stacks up against Europe's elite defenders. He stacks up against them. You can compare him to them, which is exactly what I will be doing. And shout out to Bolton Dude as well, who has sent me on something to add into it. But this guy stacks up against Europe's best defenders. May not hit the same numbers that Van Dijk or Marquinhos, but he's very, very close. Look, not only should we be praising this guy for defending, I mean, everybody go back and look at that goal. I think it was against Leicester, a double tackle. Hit one, straight back up, hits another. We go up and score from it. I watched him against Mikel Antonio at the stadium. Mikel Antonio didn't want to know after 20, 25 minutes because Romero is too good for him. Look, with Romero, he's one of these players. He's a throwback. He's a rarity. You look at him. He sees the ball. He goes and wins it. You look at Dier. He sees the ball. He drops off. He drops off. He drops off. He is extremely proactive.
He has cojones.
Yeah,
he has cojones.
About him, but he's nasty. And trust me, I played with and against players like that. And what it does is it makes you change your game. It makes you thinking. It stops you showing for the ball because this guy's going to be up your hole. You don't want to be kicked. You don't want the studs coming down the back of your legs. You don't want the ball up in the air because this guy is going to be up there challenge you with it. You run at him. You see him stepping out. You pass backwards. You pass sideways because you don't want to take him on because you know exactly what is coming. That's why he was able to make them 2 challenges against Leicester. I was saying it. His reputation is now starting to precede him. And that's why Leicester players pulled out of them 2 tackles. Jack, we analysed it. They were both closer to the ball. They pulled out. They did not want it because they know this guy is absolutely nasty. Right, that's the defensive side over and done with. Oh, sorry, actually, plus putting his body on the line as well. The amount of blocks this guy has made as well across them 28 games. Been unbelievable. Now let's go to the attacking side of things. Who are we always looking for to play them balls to Harry Kane? Play out usually from the back. We use our right-hand side an awful lot. And that's because of how good Romero is on the ball. He's cool, calm, and collective. He doesn't panic. Against West Ham, I watched 2 players closing this guy down. And he put the ball between the 2 of them, turned, and gone. He's absolutely unbelievable. Against West Ham, I watched this guy pick up the ball in the corner, dribble out by 2 of them, 1-2, and he's out of the corner. He loves playing football. He doesn't panic like Dier, where, oh, shit, someone's pressed me. Let's send it long, straight back to the opposition. Let's give it back to them. Romero doesn't do that. He is so good on the ball. He would take players on. Well, let's go back to the Aston Villa game. That long ball to Harry Kane, and all Harry Kane had to do was cushion it in behind for Sonny.
Yeah,
his
that was
passing
sick,
is unbelievable. People praise Dier for his passing. Oh, we need someone to maybe replicate what Toby used to do for this team. When he's passing out from the back, Romero has it. What a signing this guy has been. He has given me an absolute stiffy. I love watching him play. He makes me love defending. He makes me want to put my body on the line to block a ball. He's a leader of men.
He reminds me of a young Vertonghen. He really does.
Was he born to play in the Premier League, Marcelo? Do you think he was born to play
He really does, because it just his physicality as well. You know, I remember when Vertonghen used to pick up the ball and just drive with it sometimes. You know what I mean? And like he almost kind of looked like a midfielder. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with Romero. Sometimes like he doesn't even look like a center back. He moves like a midfielder, man. You know what I mean? Like he can be so swift with the ball and so clean with his passing. I would say just the one thing is sometimes he, you know, like you said, in the air, that's about it. But you know, if we get someone that can command the air, we have one of the best defense in the league.
And let me be honest.
Terry Wright says here, scary thing is he's only going to get better.
Yeah,
he's young.
And when I talk about early, I mean from set pieces, he's not great. But when it's long balls up, he will win. He wins.
He will win it. Yeah.
It's set pieces he's not great from.
Yeah,
I agree.
Fair enough.
I agree there. Well, there's some beautiful Cuti Romero praise, and I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same way. If you feel like you need, you know, David or Marcelo to go off again on Cuti Romero, any other player, feel free to throw it in a super chat, everybody. But we're going to keep plowing on. Davinson Sanchez, and I will say the key point here that I wrote down when I did my notes for this show, which we did, you know, do a bit of preparation for everybody. I will say, let me know what you think of those Ultimate Team cards, because I do kind of like the look of them, to be fair. But Sanchez, I did write down Marcelo. He started off the first 3 games really well, but he also ended the last 4 games really well, you know, too. Despite all the, you know, stuff in the middle, you know, it was interesting that Sanchez set the tone of the season, but then he also kind of finished the season well as well. And it's a bit strange to me that maybe that's just something you wouldn't expect with Sanchez. Maybe you would expect him to have some good games in the middle, but not good games at the beginning and the end of the season. That's what's a bit strange about him. And 32 matches played, a lot more than I expected, and 2 goals as well. Like, he is actually the best from set pieces. He had some crucial goals for us at one stage too. So Sanchez, not as bad of a season as people would like to think.
No, I don't think he had a bad season. I just think he had an average season. I think like
5.
Yeah, he did basically what you expect, like what you want from like a backup center back. Really, you know, come in, did the job. Okay, Romero's back fit. You know, sit on the bench. You know, just relax, drink a cup of tea. Okay, we need you. All right, come in, do the job, and he did it. He didn't do anything special. You know, I mean, he did get a goal against Leicester. That was really, I mean, not Leicester, Watford. That was really important, and you know, he did fill in against Leicester. I thought he was one of our better defenders against Leicester. I thought he was our better defenders when he did have to come in and step in. But he didn't do anything special, and he didn't, you know, he made some mistakes here and there, looking a little bit, you know, sometimes I think he backtracks, sometimes in the air he looks a little bit weak. But kind of what you want from a backup center back. You know what I mean? I don't mind him staying for another season as a backup. You know what I mean? He kind of was like just the ideal backup center back. Came in, did the job, nothing special, nothing perfect. Nothing much else to say.
Nothing much else to say. It's Marcel, I think you probably even took most of the points there. Dave, anything to say there on Sanchez? I mean, like I said, started off the season well, finished the season well. Marcelo brought some really good points there where he's just been a solid backup this season. And
just average.
How much more you can ask from him. Just good average player, and that's what I guess he was paid to do this season.
I'll be honest, I disagree. I think he's absolutely shocking. I mean, I honestly cannot defend when a ball's put in over his head. I've watched him.
True.
He's so nervous on the football, cannot control the ball, cannot pass a football. Don't get me wrong. First 3 games of the season, everybody was absolutely praising this lad. 3 clean sheets as well. Great. Last 3 games of the season, everybody praising this lad. 3 clean sheets. Great. What about the other 26, 27 games?
But I think that was when we expected him. Like, I agree with you, David. I think as a consistent center back, I don't want him anywhere near my club as a consistent center back. Whenever we ask him to be consistent, he is a horrendous footballer. But I think for the few and odd games, like he does the job. You know what I mean? He's just average.
No, watch him in the Europa Conference League when he stepped in, which is where he's going to be stepping in. Early rounds of competitions, donkey. Not good.
Yeah, the NS Moura. Oh my God, Dave! Why did you do that, bro? Why did you do that?
God.
I'm just here to reality.
Dave,
I tried to forget that game,
card,
David.
Red card, Dave.
No,
Come
look,
on, man.
I get it. We
That's
all want to be
okay.
Just let me forget that
No,
one,
look,
man.
I get it. Look, we all want to be
He got beat by the same move. He got beat by the same fucking move.
Look, don't get me wrong.
Man.
I think there was one good game. What was it? I think against Brentford at home. I think he scored a header or something like that. Or maybe I think it was.
To do that.
But
You didn't need to
look,
pull that card.
on the whole of the season, he's been absolutely dog shit. He can't control the ball, can't kick a ball, can't header a football when it's coming in over his head, can't turn. He's been absolutely crap.
Why you give him a 5 then?
Because the 6 games. The three first games. If I'm being honest, I didn't want to seem like the harsh one, but 5 is about right. Okay, North London Derby, thank you, fantastic. You know, again, I'll reiterate, we're down to 10 men. I mean, I could add a good game in defence for that game. Let's be honest. But over the course of the season, he's been absolutely crap. He's been crap. He's been crap last season when we asked him to step in. This guy, again, is not good enough to be at Tottenham Hotspur and is not good enough to be a backup. I would rather Dier be a backup than Sanchez.
Yeah,
He's
I agree.
absolutely crap.
I agree with that.
We wasted 45 million. Honestly.
I agree.
Does he still need a GPS, Dave, in your eyes? Like King Huddle the same? Have people forgotten about that? Maybe he still needs a GPS?
Let's not forget the famous image of him eating grass against Man City last season. Let's not forget that. He's been consistent. One thing this guy has been, I'll give it to him, is consistently shit since he's been here.
And to be fair, actually, when they were doing, the assessment for who had the best pitch, this season, and when they gave it to Spurs, it's because Sanchez has individually tasted every single piece of grass across the Premier League, and he has said that Spurs is actually taste the best. So David actually has a point there. But Marcelo, before we finish off on Sanchez, I think that was actually a red card by Dave there, for pulling up, that NS Moura, sort of.
Honestly, I forgot about that game.
A bit low by him.
I honestly forgot about that game.
I think that's like pulling a Yu-Gi-Oh card, to just end the game, or something. I think that was a bit low by David. He didn't need to go that far. He didn't need to go that far.
No, I didn't.
No, he did. He needed to remind us because I forgot how shit he was. I'm not gonna lie.
He's crap. He played against Vitesse twice and NS Moura in Europa Conference League. No. We lost 2-1-1.
That was Thanksgiving Day as well, Marcel. That NS Moura game. That was Thanksgiving Day that he got beat by the same move. That's why I really started shivering.
God, I remember that.
Shivering.
God, that seemed like a decade ago, man.
Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, when Conte came in, he first came in, he had a good period in Leeds, Brentford, Norwich.
Yeah. No, you're right, David. We agree. Yeah.
Chelsea
just didn't know that you needed to go that far, Dave. That's all I was saying. I just didn't know you needed to go that far to prove the point because it's just not. It's not nice imagery. It's just not nice imagery. If I'm going to be honest, I just didn't like that day. It just wasn't a good Thanksgiving for me. John Carter with a very, very generous one, Dave. And I guess maybe like a few, Dave. You pop in, you find the Irish Hotspur. You're not sure what it is. He's trying to figure out, YouTube in general. But John, really appreciate this one, my man. And he was in the chat last night. Yeah, he's in the chat today. Really appreciate it here, John. And it's really, really generous too, my man.
100%. Really, really appreciate that, John. And look, like I keep saying to people, we don't have anybody that helps us, that helps cover the bills and everything else. And we rely on your support for this channel, guys. So a massive thank you, John. And if you did forget to put in a comment, simply just put it in the chat, brother. and we'll bring it up and have a discussion.
That's all I put so far. That's all I put so far. Is okay, it worked out. But I mean, there you are, John. Clearly did, my man. I'd really appreciate it, brother. And hopefully, maybe we'll put up your next football, related comment, my John, and we'll put it up on screen, my man.
Talk John.
But really
Legend.
Appreciate you.
He was having good banter with me last night. He was ripping the piss out of me last night. So I love it.
Definitely was. Well, a really good conversation about Sanchez, lads. And I will say, Marcelo, David, he had to pull out, the best, cards available to him. And I think it was necessary. But David, I think won that one. Maybe we'd go lower than a 5, but I'm not sure. Winks, Dave, you're going to have to go overtime here.
Yep, I'm going to go get something to eat. I'll let Dave.
Rating. Yeah. I've given him somehow the lowest rating. What I have down here in my notes here, Dave, the reason why I've given him a 0, the reason why I've given him the lowest rating is because originally, Dave, I was going to go with Marcelo's 2 because I was thinking there were some good games from Winks. But when I thought about it, Dave, Dark Sun G, who isn't in the chat today, bless his name, but he did say the games that we lost that were some of the most crucial games this season that we lost.
Oh, because of him.
The first Burnley game, the Southampton game, the games in the past that we had lost were because of Winks. And it was Winks and Højbjerg. There was that period of time where people are thinking maybe Winks is actually the better, choice, for Spurs than Højbjerg. Like maybe Højbjerg isn't all that, maybe Winks is the one, that we need to base the team around. It was dark, dark days, Dave.
Yeah.
And so as much as maybe Winks had 2 good games, maybe 2, no more than that. Let's be honest. No more than that. I actually think he deserves a 0 because he lost us a lot of games as well. Winks, he cost us points. And Dark Sun G, Dave, for almost a week straight was emphasizing that. So in Dark Sun G's name, I've decided to represent him and give him the 0 like I know Dark Sun G would.
Yeah. No, 100%. Look, when it comes to Winks, let's go through it. Okay, lost 1-0 away to Pacos de Ferreira. Where did the goal come from?
Yeah, actually, the whole course of the season, like Marcelo was saying, let's remember the first games of the season under Winks, and also that game at Vitesse when he complained about not getting enough minutes of game time against Vitesse. Yeah, so sorry to continue that.
Yeah, no, so nearly went out of the Europa Conference League against fucking Ferrero Rocher because the guy cannot pass a ball. And they targeted him. I said it going into the game, Jack. I said it to you. If they're smart, they will target Harry Winks, put pressure on him. Done it all game. Got the result they needed. Okay, you go into the group stage. Okay, NS Moura 5-1. He scored that fucking 50-yarder. That's why I gave him the 1, right? Vitesse, then we lose away. This guy has the audacity to come out in the press and say the reason why he puts in the performances he does is because he's in the second team and because he doesn't get played consistently. Now, I'm sorry, guys. Now, unless football has completely done a 180 flip, I mean, it was always up to the player to do his very best to get into the team. And this guy does not get it. Football and an appearance or even make an appearance, getting any minutes is not guaranteed. You have to work for it. You have to earn for it. And I've just seen time and time and time again when it comes to Harry Winks, excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. And I've had enough with it. Right? You go into other games this guy has played. And the reason why we end up going for Bentancur, Chelsea, Southampton, Wolves, Burnley, came off the bench against United, came off the bench against Brighton, lost the game, nearly cost us another couple of times coming off the bench. He played in the Palace 3-0 in midfield. The list goes on and on and on. Middlesbrough, FA Cup, played the full 120 minutes. Some of our worst results in history at this club. This guy has been in the centre midfield. He can't pass a ball. He cannot pass a ball more than 5 yards. He's a stat pad merchant. He cannot tackle. People make excuses about this guy. Oh, he can't tackle because he came through the academy as a centre attacking midfielder. Okay, that sounds great, but what I don't understand is people are telling you this without going and doing their research. Go and do your research. This guy done an interview with the FA. He was brought into Tottenham as a centre midfielder, played as a centre midfielder, going through the academy. But yet people and by the way, this is from his own words. This is from his own mouth. And I'm just exposing how far people will go to make excuses for this guy. He can't tackle because he came through as a centre attacking midfielder. Bullcrap, load of bollocks, full out lies. From his own mouth, he played centre midfield. No excuse for him not to tackle. A centre midfielder has to be able to do both. Pass the ball and tackle. This guy cannot do it. The fact that Bentancur, Jack, all January, all leading up to January.
Bentancur has exposed him so hard.
Yeah. What do you want? What do you want in this window, Dave? And the first thing I said, I want a ball-playing, deep-lying midfielder who can get the ball from the defence and get it into the front line. And Bentancur has come in and done that. Winks doesn't want to do it because, A, he's running right up to the player, like literally 2 yards in front of them. He could almost give them a kiss. And he's saying, give me the ball. What are you doing? What are you doing? And then when he gets the ball, he runs it right up to the next player and gives it to him. I mean, he cannot move the ball about the pitch. He's a stat patter. And for me, I'm fed up with this guy. I want him gone. Thank God he'll be gone this season. Never, ever good enough to be at Tottenham. And the fact that Bentancur has come in and all of a sudden completely changed the way we play, we completely look like a brand new team who does have an attacking outlet, who is dangerous on the counter, who can catch you on the counter, purely because Bentancur can come in, pick up the ball from the centre-backs and put it into Harry Kane's feet, which this guy failed to do. It got that bad, people started putting Harry Winks' deficiencies onto Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. We can never allow that to happen again or ever make that mistake. And I'm done with this fraud. Done with him. I'm not speaking about him again.
And the Oscar goes to Marcelo, but Dave somehow gave him a 1 at the end of that speech, and you've given him a 2 here. So I think you guys have a bit of explaining to do, to be fair. I know Dave just went on the most passionate rant I've ever seen, and to be fair, he deserves an award after that one, but he's still going to have to explain himself after you do for this 2, because I've given him the 0.
That goal in the Europa Conference League. That's why he gets that mark.
I will say that, and also the Liverpool game, because he was exceptional in that Liverpool game. That's it. In my opinion, look, he was just a body. That's why I gave him a 2. He was just a body. But, I mean, sometimes it felt like we're playing against him than he was playing with us. So, right. And every time he started, remember that Berlin game? I think I came in and I was like, look, guys, we're going to lose. Harry Winks is starting. And, everybody was like, Marcelo, you're being negative. What is this? And then we ended up losing the game. And I was like, what do you think it is? Why do you think every time we play this guy, we start this guy, we lose? You know what I mean? It's not a coincidence. You start Harry Winks, you're going to lose the game. I can't top what David just said. The only reason why I give him a 2 is because we got Champions League and he had 2 decent performances. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. Why not be a little bit positive and give him, a positive score?
All I'll say is maybe last word on Winks here is when maybe he gets sold this summer, and it better be happening this summer. If you just see me on for the channel for just a week straight and Dave's not on, it's because Dave's taking, a holiday, off to Spain.
He's hungover. And if you see David a little bit sluggish on the stream back, it's because he's hungover.
Once this guy goes, I do not have to worry about Tottenham Hotspur. Purely because, look, I've played the game, I've played to a decent standard. You win the midfield battle, 9 times out of 10, you win the game. And that's just the way it goes. So the fact that we can never win the midfield battle with him in there, I'm always going to have to worry. So once he gets sold, there'll be no worries because we always have a chance to win the midfield battle.
Moving on to another one that's going to be a tough conversation here. Dele Alli played 17 games, 3 goals and assists combined. One of them was a penalty. If not 2 of them might have been penalties. I'll be honest, what I wrote down here, lads, was last chance saloon for Dele. And then what I wrote next to that was how many times have I said last chance saloon for Dele Alli? This guy needed to be sold in the summer. He got another chance. He almost had like 9 lives, it felt like, at Tottenham Hotspur, as a player. And finally, in the January window, someone that people don't want to give Perišić credit for this as well. He got rid of Dele Alli.
Just got rid of him.
He actually found a way to get rid of Dele Alli where we'll actually somehow make money for getting rid of Dele Alli on top of that, which is just unbelievable work. But to be fair, I think the real key emphasis here is what I wrote down in my notes is that this was Dele Alli's 6th, 7th chance, to, prove people wrong at Spurs, to show that he still has the talent, to show that he still cares about football. That's what I also wrote down, is that we were kind of trying to find out whether Dele actually even cared about Spurs, whether he cared about football, whether he even wants to progress his career further. And I guess what we found out was the worst possible thing which is that Dele doesn't seem to care about his football career, doesn't seem to care about being a footballer, seems to have just ridden the high life and doesn't want to really take it much further than that. And I think it's a bit of a sad sort of display. And so I think my 0 is accurate. I think Marcelo's -2 is probably what I'd rather would go for. But I'm going to go to you first, Marcelo, here. I mean, Dele Alli, like I said, just the fact that this was his last chance and he blew it yet again.
Look, it's the -2 is more to do with just an absolute disappointment. Just an absolute disappointment. Guy had it all. Guy had a chance. He was looking to be on top, but he let the money get in his head. And his last few years at Spurs was probably some of the worst.
This season was the worst, I'll be honest. This season was the worst. We've seen some games. I think it was against NS Mira, Marcelo, where 0 chances created. It was like 0 shots, 0 key passes, 0 dribbles.
And the most annoying thing
against like NS Mira or something.
Exactly. And the most annoying thing is there is a player in him. I think we saw highlights of that in the Liverpool game. We've seen it before. It's just his lack of desire and his lack. And what annoyed me the most about him was when the club was at disarray, he kind of almost laughed at us. You know what I mean? He kind of almost took the piss at times with, the TikToks and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And people, he would say then, in his Instagram live stream, which I did watch, he's like, look, guys, just because I'm posting TikTok doesn't mean I care. It's like, no, like, I mean, it means you don't care because your team just lost in a fucking embarrassing way. And you're just posting these funny little memes while your team is down and they need your help and vulnerable. And
he's
you're
not
taking
it on the chin like everybody else, Marcelo. He's not wearing it like everybody else.
You're taking the piss by not even going to the game and not even watching the game by posting these TikToks. It's just like, how disrespectful can you be to not only the club but to your teammates? You know what I mean? Especially to your fans. I am a Dele Alli fan. Matty Hayes, I know, is a Dele Alli fan. David is a Dele Alli fan. We were all Dele Alli fans. So for
We've
me,
all been betrayed at one stage by
this felt like for what he did to us was really a betrayal. For me, it hurt almost twicefold because he almost just the lack of care and professionalism from him it was kind of disgusting in some ways. It's really like I really left a bitter taste in my mouth, and that's why I give him a -2. Should have given him more of a negative, really, because it just hurts because I wanted him to do so well.
Dave, I honestly think Marcelo summarized that extraordinarily well, really extraordinarily well, because we were all fans of Dele at one stage, and we were all betrayed at one stage.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to keep it short, sweet, and simple because the guy's gone, and I'm happy with it. Look, I cannot condone someone that is on Instagram touching his hat because he wants the manager out. Can't condone someone that's actually posting on Insta or on TikTok while we're losing, in the middle of a game, while we're losing, when this guy could have been out there doing something about it. And it's not because we haven't given him chances. We gave him a number of chances. But look, that's what happens when you think you've made it. Tough tits, he's gone. Good luck. I gave him a 1 for that Liverpool game, and that was it.
Listen, I get it, Matty. He had a few tough years, but how long did we back him through that tough years? You know what I mean? How many tough years are you going to have until you start finally picking yourself up again? And, like, I understand he had tough years, but there's also a way of dealing with those tough times. Matt Doherty, fuck me. He had a horrendous first year at Spurs. Probably one of the worst. Got COVID. Everybody hated him. Didn't care about him. We often used to call him as an Arsenal fan. We kind of like secluded him from our Spurs squad. Mourinho mistreated him. Played him out of position. That's about as tough as you can get. But he stayed quiet. He just improved on himself. He didn't post these things on Instagram while we lost. He didn't take the piss off his teammates when we lost and when we needed help. He stuck with the team. There's a way by going through tough times. And you know what? Even if you are a bad player, I can accept you being a bad player. You know what I mean? Serge Aurier was a bad player, but he also had a bad attitude. Sissoko was a bad player, but he also had a bad attitude. Dele Alli, he was a good player, but because he had such a terrible attitude, he became rotten at the club. It really became rotten. And it just pains me because of just his attitude cost his career. And he not only betrayed us, he really betrayed himself at the end of the day. Because one thing Mourinho did say was right. He was spot on about Dele Alli. He was spot on about what he would become.
Yeah.
Dele struggles, perhaps last little point here, just last little quick point. Maybe Dave or Marcelo can answer. Matty Hayes here is saying a lot of Dele struggles were personal, though, like not really football related, and maybe, it probably does take a bit of time to recover from that. And maybe sometimes we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah, but like I said, there's a way to deal with it. You know what I mean? I'm almost certain every footballer has personal issues, but there's a way with dealing with it. And I think he went the worst possible way of dealing with it.
Look, fair enough having personal issues and whatever else. Fine, I get it. But everybody goes through them. Everybody still goes through personal stuff and still goes to work. Don't kick up like this baby done. No excuses for it whatsoever. You've got the money. Go and speak to people. Go and see the people. I get money isn't everything. And I get you've got personal issues. But everybody in the whole world struggles on a daily basis with life. No exception for this guy. None whatsoever. Get on with it and deal with it. You're throwing away your football career. That's on you.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah. He did throw away. Everton don't even want him.
Time to move on. Time to move on from Dele. Time to move on. And maybe someone who we can also hope to move on from. Tanguy and Dom Lardas with this one. I'm going to summarize this one because I'm just going to say here, everybody, as we maybe know who've been on this channel quite a long time, I backed this guy because I saw the footballing ability there. But I'll be honest, I was betrayed. As much as betrayal might be a harsh word with Dele Alli, I don't think it's a harsh word with Tanguy. I was betrayed by this guy because he was given, I felt like a therapist, to deal with, his struggles at Spurs. He was given at least 2 or 3 personal trainers, to get right at Spurs. He was given, a Jose, went to his house personally to walk him around the house, to do laps. He was given everything under the
owner
gave
him a pep talk.
The owner gave him the most boring pep talk of all time that probably made him more alienated, to be fair. But everybody went out of their way. Everybody went out of their way to make Tanguy feel like he could succeed at this club. I went out of my way to try to back Tanguy to succeed at this club because we all knew there was a player in there. At the end of the day, we knew that he could actually sauce on anybody in the world, but it's just whether he decided to or not, whether he wanted to or not was the big deal. And I guess at the end of the day, no matter what you can do, Tanguy's just going to continue to let us down. He's going to continue to play how he wants to play, which is just disappointing. So I'm going to give him a 1 because he had some good performances here and there, but he's just a toxic piece of mulch, or I don't even know. Like, he's just useless to this team, Marcelo. And so maybe a 0 is more accurate, but I don't know. With Tanguy, it's just, I feel betrayed. Wages. I felt betrayed by Tanguy because it felt like we did everything in our power to make this guy do right. To even suggest, and I've heard people say this, that we failed Tanguy and Ndombele. And I, as even a Tanguy fan myself, found that to be horseshit because we have done everything in our power to try to make this guy.
We even give him a loan. You even give him a loan to maybe get some game time. I mean, like, guy's just a big baby. Get him gone. Out. Please. Out of the door. Thank you. Bye-bye. Done. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I've got to keep this quick myself. Look, Ronald McDombele, Endon fat ass, Lord of the Fries. At the end of the day, for me, I don't want to hear any of this Tottenham failed. Everyone wants to make Tottenham the bad guy here. This guy has a state-of-the-art training complex, which many dub the best in the world. Sent him on personal training. Still couldn't get right. Tough shit, tough takes. Like, you pay the price. Good luck, end on fat ass. Finish with him. Had enough. Move on.
Nice, quick, and simple. Honestly, I think we just 1, 2, 3, 4. Tanguy on that one. So well done, boys. Gio, another one, tough one we have to get through here. I'll be honest. I'm going to start it off here by saying never even rated the guy. Like, even when he started at Spurs, even that little brief spell of when he was playing well, I just kind of thought this guy doesn't really look like he's going to get us goals. Doesn't really look like he's going to get us assists. He just seems like a sort of creative midfielder that links up play, but doesn't actually get you any end product at the end of the day. When it comes to any sort of free kick, when it comes to any sort of corner, he can barely get it off 5 feet off the ground. He seems to be a bit of a weirdo, according to people, kind of in the dressing room and whatnot. Not a lot of people actually got along with him. On top of that, didn't seem to actually give a shit about playing for Spurs as well, which I think is minus points. Didn't actually care about this club compared to other players that even when you look at maybe perhaps the Delis and maybe other players that we've given bad ratings to, they at least seem to care about Spurs. They at least seem to care about the fans and everything. I don't think you could say that at all about Giovani Lo Celso. He probably was the one who cared about Spurs the least in the entire squad. So to be honest, Dave and Marcel, I have no sympathy for this guy whatsoever. Absolutely none.
Summed it up perfectly. Honestly, I have nothing else to say. Absolute disappointment.
Take set pieces like a 6-year-old. And that pass against Man United behind Sonny on the outside of his foot, instead of doing it with the inside of the foot, told me this guy couldn't give a fuck about Tottenham Hotspur. Glad he's on his way to Villarreal. Bon voyage. Go and enjoy the Yellow Submarine.
There you are. Moving on to that bad bit of waste man, as maybe put there. Skippy, I mean, sensational season, and has proven to be actually the homegrown midfielder that we've been looking for. We've been, praising Winks for being a homegrown midfielder. Finally, we have one that actually looks like he's useful. Finally, we have one that looks like we can be proud of in the form of Ollie Skipp. Started off the season strongly. I mean, that Man City debut was honestly spectacular. This season, he ran the show there. Seems to love a yellow card, Skippy. I mean, who doesn't love that, especially on this channel? I know Marcelo, David, and I, like players that play that sort of way. Loves to get stuck in. Seems to enjoy getting stuck in more than even developing the play or anything. But only at the end of the day really played 28 matches. So I know we all want to rant about Skip, but he really only played 28 matches and missed like 6 months of the season or something like that, whatever it was. So there's not a lot to really base off, especially when it comes to the Conte era. Not a lot to really talk about, when it cocomes to Skip.
I think, I will say
era. It's more the Nuno era.
I think Skip was the one that kind of outshined a lot in the Nuno era, because when we played that 3 midfield and we played him and Pierre kind of like as a dropping defensive midfielder, I think he was great. I think some of his faults kind of showed a little bit more in the Conte era, because just simply, I think Conte he loves a mature midfielder, and Skip sometimes lacked that maturity, which is not his fault. You know what I mean? He's just a kid. And, he's been asked a whole lot, and for what he's been asked to, I think he's done really well. But I think I think Bentancur really showed, the difference of levels, in my opinion. And I think Skip is one definitely for the future. I think his injury-prone issues, and I think some of his technical issues is what kind of made me want to give him a 6. But otherwise, he's probably one of our most promising player, and I think he had a good season.
Yeah, look, for me, look, under Conte, you can't really take too much from it. But all in all, the games he did play, super positive, comes straight into the team, takes Harry Winks out of the team, says it all, really, doesn't it?
That gets extra points. Yeah, that definitely.
Definitely a bright light, though. Definitely a bright light. He wears his heart on his sleeves, and he's played his heart out when he has played.
Yeah, and I think the tough thing about it, Dave, don't you agree, is that it's really just Nuno's era that you're really judging him on, which is kind of difficult. Yeah.
But you know what? Credit to him, because the club was falling apart at that point, and he was kind of that one player we kind of looked up to. He looked good, and he looked consistent. So when all the chips are down, you look for someone to kind of help and restructure that. And I think him and, we'll get over to Son later, but I think him and Son were crucial in that moment. In that moment where we needed them.
I agree.
100%. And look, it must be stressed that, Conte really rates this guy, especially over someone like Harry Winks, that he was begging for him to come back. He done everything possible to try and get him back.
Even accused the medical staff, at multiple stages because he couldn't get this guy back. That's how upset Conte was. You're exactly right, Dave. Bentancur, you could almost make the case for a 9 here, because a lot of us, no matter how much we love Kulusevski, we've even said that Bentancur was the more needed signing than even Kulusevski was, because what we needed, Dave, was a deep lying playmaker. He's not even as much of a deep lying playmaker. We just needed a deep lying, competent midfielder that wasn't Harry Winks anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what Bentancur has done. It actually probably proved this channel right, because, Dave, a lot of people often ask, where's, for January, it's like, what's the big signing you would make? Like, where would your first signing be? A lot of people said wing back. A lot of people said backup striker. This channel all the time, Dave, said, I need a center mid, and I need this center mid to come in as soon as possible so that I don't have to watch Harry Winks anymore play alongside Højbjerg. Because we also saw that Skip was being injured. Skip wasn't reliable fitness-wise for that season, so we knew that the center mid was more important than ever, and Bentancur stepped up, and we wouldn't have gotten top 4 if it wasn't for Bentancur. 18 matches played, 4 goals and assists. I think it was like 3 assists and 1 goal or something like that, or even 4 assists. I'm not sure. But Dave, this is the guy that we needed, and he got us top 4, if I'm going to be honest.
Completely saved our season. Look, before he came in, we were being overrun in midfield, and that was purely because of Harry Winks was in there. We couldn't, teams would press us. We couldn't play out from the back because we had no one that was brave enough to go and receiving the ball in turn. Højbjerg tried, but when there's only one player doing it, it's so easy to close that down and get after him. And for me, he's come in, Jack, and this is why I stress, look, the reason why is because, look, you go back, you had Dembele, who could run the ball from one end to the other. You had a Luka Modric, who could just get on the ball, play these passes. A midfield is always supposed to be a partnership. I look at Højbjerg, you've got the guy who will run around. You've got the guy who will win the ball. You've got the guy. And his whole job is win the ball, give it to the players that can play, right? I.e., the likes of, he should be able to give it to the likes of Bentancur, which he's been doing. You look at Bentancur, instant impact, gets on the ball. How many times as soon as he come in was the first thing he done, get the ball into Harry Kane's feet, we're on the attack, we score a goal. He has been absolutely crucial. And not only that, look at the games he's dictated, Jack, where he gets on the ball, you're 2-3 up. He slows teams down. And by doing that, he plays from side to side. He's in control of the ball. And by doing that, you're not keeping the game going from end to end. He knows how to read a game. He knows when to slow it down in the first half, knows when to slow it down in the second half, because going end to end, eventually by the law of averages, you will concede. But this guy takes the sting out of games when necessary. He's been an absolute influential signing in terms of dictating the game, dictating the ball, plus bringing counterattacks left, right, and centre. And it's been a massive part of the problem why we've been able to pass out from the back into the forward line. That has completely transformed how we played. I was been screaming out for this all season long. A player like this to come in, someone that was not shy away, someone that even when someone's pressing him, still wants the ball and believes in his ability to be able to turn his man and get his pass up. And that's what this guy does. That's why Conte went after him. That's why Perišić went after him. That's why a midfielder was absolutely crucial in the January transfer window and a specialist. And that's why I called from it. I've played the game. I've from up until 18, 21. I was training 4 nights a week, playing 2-3 games a week at times. I know how I've played centre midfield. I know how a partnership is supposed to be. But plus, you're supposed to be able to tackle, Jack. And this guy can do it. Not only can he play the passes, he can also mix it up and tackle, which Harry Winks wasn't given it. And this guy alone single-handedly has come in and put Harry Winks himself on the transfer list.
Single-handedly has gotten Harry Winks out of this club, which probably is an extra point as well. Pretty good season for a Juve reject is all I would say. Pretty good season for a Juve reject. Pretty good season. And as much as people want to say they love Bentancur now, there was a lot of hate for this sort of signing. There was a lot of
I was excited for him.
A lot of people, I bet you were. I mean, you probably have seen Juve. I think that was the problem. A lot of people hadn't been watching Juve in the last 5 seasons and didn't know that he's been playing majority of their games for like the last 4 or 5 seasons. And the fact that we had signed somebody like that, a Juve regular, not a Juve reject, a Juve regular for 18 million euros, 19 million euros, whatever it was. Ridiculous.
Well, it's not just Juve. It's also for Uruguay. Whenever I seen him play, whenever we played against Uruguay, he was always just such a pestering, like...
a thorn,
thorn, you know what I mean? And I always kind of got mad at him, you know what I mean? And I was like, if I'm getting mad at him when he plays Brazil, that means it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because he's playing against the best. you really think about it. So, he's also really good at counterattacks. I only give him a 7 just because sometimes I think he goes missing at times.
Yeah, he did.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He shies away sometimes, which is
There was a period when he was carrying a knock. And the fact that
that's what I heard.
Injury and not putting Winks in there says everything.
Yeah, maybe I am being a bit harsh. Yeah, maybe I am being a bit harsh. I think 8 is the fair score to give him, and he's the reason why we're playing Champions League. He's been fantastic.
It's a bad indictment on Harry Winks, though, that a 50% Bentancur, Conte has more trust in him than 100% Harry Winks. That's how bad the guy is.
Yeah, Harry Winks is shit.
Moving on.
Actually, Bentekers, I thank you. You have saved my season. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just leave this here. Moondog, you already know. I mean, it's pretty easy.
I'm going to be quiet on this one. I'll just let you go, Jack.
Yeah, just go ahead, Jack.
47 matches played. What I wrote down here is in 2 seasons, he didn't even finish the second season. He's already had 100 matches played for Tottenham Hotspur in not even 2 seasons. Like, the season wasn't even over, and he had reached 100 matches played for this football club. It kind of makes me it's almost sort of shits on the whole fact that there are people that think that we could actually, we need to get rid of Højbjerg right away. Højbjerg needs to get out of this club. We could be so much better without him. I have never said that Højbjerg is the best midfielder in the world. I have never said that Højbjerg is the end all be all to when it comes to a midfielder. All I have said and have consistently said when it comes to Højbjerg is the moment that we feel like we need to get rid of Højbjerg is the day that we have fixed every single problem at Tottenham Hotspur. There's no reason to feel like Højbjerg is the problem at this club. Højbjerg has been the most consistent player last season, and he probably to an extent is up there alongside Ben Davies with one of the most consistent players this season on top of that as well. Under Nuno, I thought he was solid. In fact, even at one stage under the Nuno era, when asked, even by reporters, he had the full opportunity to go after that fucking cone man or whatever that, kind of fraud of a manager was. But when he was asked, what does it take for you guys to be motivated? Do you guys need a new manager to be motivated? He said, I could get the tea lady in here into this club for me to be motivated for this football club. When Højbjerg said that, it shows the type of mentality that this guy has. Apparently, he's the first one in. He's the last one out. He's the only guy that's speaking to the side staff like Stellini and whatnot, asking what he needs to do better, what he needs to do for the upcoming games. He's a leader inside the dressing room. He's a leader. I mean, he seems to be doing all the media days as well by the looks of it. It seems like when nobody wants to do the media work, like play FIFA or things like that, Højbjerg just raises his hand, say, I'll do it, coach. He's just somebody that I'll be honest, if you're saying that Højbjerg needs to leave this club, I don't think you watch Tottenham Hotspur. That's all I'll say. I just don't think you understand what this club needs. I don't think you understand what this club stands for. There's no reason to think Højbjerg's your favorite player. I'm not asking to say he needs to be your favorite player, but for anybody to say Højbjerg's been the problem, for anybody to say Højbjerg needs to go, I'll be honest, you just don't watch this team.
100%.
I just don't think you understand the problem is.
Yeah.
Simple as.
Go on, Marcelo, go on.
No, I just think if you think Højbjerg is the problem, you don't understand what the problem is. And David and I, David, Jack, and I were right all along. Get Ndombele out of the team. Get Lo Celso out of the team. Get Aurier out of the team. Get these players out of the team. Get Dele Alli out of the team. Get Winks out of the team, and we will improve.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, but Højbjerg, he's not saucy. He doesn't turn like Ndombele. He doesn't dribble like Ndombele. I'm like, I don't care about fucking dribbles. I care about results. This is a result business. Yeah. When we play under Ndombele, we have a 30% win rate. 30%, bro. When we play with Højbjerg, our win rate was something crazy like 70%. Or like 60%, something like that.
He plays every game anyway. And also under 3 different managers, he's played every game. I mean, even Nuno, of all people, knew that he needs to play Højbjerg every game.
So, cut the crap. Stop. I don't care about saucy football. I care about winning football. I care about effective football. What Højbjerg does is not sometimes the most prettiest thing, sometimes not the most eye-pleasing thing, but I think also he's an underrated footballer. I think he has very skill. I think in the Norwich game, that ping, I think some of his goals have been nice this season. I think he has a good long ball in him. I think he has a good straight shot in him. And so I think he has a good footballing abilities. But what he does is he is an effective footballer, plain as that. He's not gonna make the most fancy moves. He's not gonna try to do dancing like the Ndombele does. But what he does is effective, and he helps you win games. 100%. Simple as.
100%.
Dave, who said Højbjerg can't pass? I mean, that's been the line of the season.
Yeah, it has been. But you know what, Jack? Looking on it in hindsight, it's probably the best thing they could have ever done for the guy, because he just turns around, okay, he's saying I can't pass. Look what pass he done there for Harry Kane against Leeds. A player that can't pass a ball does not put that perfect weight on a pass. Some of the switches of play he's been doing.
Harry Kane's first goal of the season, Dave, against Newcastle. Harry Kane's first goal of the season was a Højbjerg pass.
Yeah. Look, Højbjerg, I don't know what people's problem is, but desire and work rate beats talent every single day of the week. If you have talent but don't have the work rate, which is what Ndombele has, which is what Lo Celso has, which is what Ali has, look what happened to them. They're out here quicker than you could say boo. You look at Højbjerg, he's remained here. Now let's go back again. We have short-term memory. People that wanted to say, oh, Harry Winks is better, or Højbjerg's a massive problem, he's average this, that, and the other. I'll be honest. Look, maybe not everybody, but I know there's a certain person I'm thinking about in my mind when I say this, does not understand football, and has probably never actually kicked the football in his life, if I'm being honest with you. Because, no. The reason why I say that is because you have to understand. Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Bentancur, who do you think they're tanking after games? Højbjerg. Because he's the one that wins the ball back, lets them go.
Does the dirty work.
And when they lose it, who's the one that wins it back 9 times out of 10? Højbjerg. People praise Conte for the exact same thing at Chelsea. Just because we haven't spent hundreds of millions on our
and he does it better than Conte.
But people say this at Chelsea. Look at the amount of talent they have up front. But Conte, he's the guy. When they lose the ball, he's the guy that mops up. And that's exactly what Højbjerg does. If Højbjerg was an average player, he wouldn't be playing in this Conte team. He just wouldn't be. Now, I know we're not blessed with a foray of centre midfielders, but we were. We had Ali, Lo Celso, Ndombele, but he lasted. He lasted, and there's a reason for it. With Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, we have to remember why we brought him in. We had Ndombele in midfield. We had Lo Celso. We had Dele Alli. But what were people screaming at? People can get our back four because we have nobody that can win that ball in that midfield. We have nobody.
See-through FC, bro.
Energy in that midfield. We brought
See-through
in
FC.
Yeah, we brought in Højbjerg, and under Jose Mourinho, it looked a bit more solid because he was the one sweeping up, doing all the defensive work. And he continued to do it this season. But because a certain little shitbag Harry Winks didn't do what he was supposed to, which is what he was being praised. I mean, Pochettino compared him to Xavi and Iniesta for his passing ability. But because he wouldn't do that, people wanted to put it all on Højbjerg. People saying, look at Højbjerg, he's not working. I'm watching Højbjerg go out and close people. And then it's being popped beside him, and you're looking, okay, where's his partner? He's standing 10 yards back, clapping Højbjerg. Go on, Højbjerg. Go on, Højbjerg. I mean, stop clapping and get up there and press with him. It's absolutely ridiculous. Højbjerg is a decent player. For years at Tottenham, we have had a soft underbelly. I remember watching Tottenham for years. Soft underbelly. No one that was really malicious or mean in midfield until we got Palacios in. Until he was running around, breaking up play, tackles. Don't get me wrong, he didn't last too long. But once we brought him in, you could see the value of having someone that goes around breaking up play, winning the ball, and getting the back forward players. Højbjerg has a certain value. If he was a bad player, like everybody says he was, he wouldn't have came through the Bayern Munich Academy either.
Well, I mean, and he also wouldn't be playing already 100 games for Spurs at this stage, as well. He wouldn't be the first name on the team sheet. And I think a lot of people also, and maybe last point here, Marcelo, is I think a lot of people have even forgotten that Højbjerg was some people's best player last season. Like a lot of people said, yeah, Højbjerg was probably our best player last season, regardless of the accolades of Kane and Son. A lot of people that said, like, if we didn't have Højbjerg last season, we would not even have finished Conference
We
League.
didn't have it.
You know?
If we didn't have it
And
him this season,
it's a similar
bro.
story this season. I
Yeah.
think. I think it's a similar story as this season. I'm not saying Højbjerg's the best player of the season or anything. Nowhere near close.
No.
What I mean to say by that is people often forget that like this team is nothing often.
Listen,
some of the results we've had are nothing without Højbjerg.
I look at Højbjerg. I look at like almost like when I work in construction, we had the roof workers, right? And now. No, like, and people often were like, no, people look at roof workers and they're like, fuck that job. That job sucks.
But they're machines.
You know what I mean? And it's like people sometimes kind of like look down at the roof workers because it was such a shitty job. But guess what? I have a house or,
They
an apartment.
Like
we need a roof. So, every house needs a roof and every club needs someone like Højbjerg. They need someone that does the dirty work, that does the work that nobody else wants to do.
And he does it with a smile on his face.
He does it. He loves it. Yeah.
Yeah. He genuinely loves it. Well, everybody, there's the Højbjerg love fest.
And he's got better as the season's gone on. Even some of the worst games this season on the run-in. Brentford, Brighton.
What did Alli say, Dave? Better this season than last season. And I thought that was an excellent hot take. Better this season than last season.
But the only player, even in them two games, to create the best chances of the games was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He's been consistent from then till the end of the season. One of the best players on the pitch in the North London Derby was one of the players that really got us going against Norwich. That ball over the top for Benteke for the Kulusevski goal. I mean, he's been very, very consistent. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Sometimes in the final third, at Liverpool, brilliant as well. Sometimes in the final third, we've seen at times, I think, against Leicester, maybe he gets caught in two minds. But the point is, every team has a steady Eddie in that midfield. And Højbjerg is ours. So love him.
Every team has a Casemiro, and I think he's our Casemiro. Every team has a Højbjerg, and I think Højbjerg is Casemiro. That's what I would say. Moving on to a quick one here. Messi didn't actually really play very much this season.
Yeah, just give him
18 matches played. Didn't really get his opportunity. The reason I gave him the highest rating, I'll be honest, though, out of all of you, is just because whenever Messi did play, it was either people looked at Messi and said, not the problem when they looked at the players and the performances. A lot of people said Messi was either the second or third best player on the pitch, if not the best one. And then there have been times even when he came on in the last 15 minutes of games when we were going for something and people were saying like, I really liked when Bryan Gil came on. We should start Bryan Gil, the next game. There's even that sort of narrative that came. So even though he didn't get a lot of opportunities and he didn't really exactly get any goals and assists with those opportunities, I'll be honest, he didn't exactly have any bad games when given the chance. So that's my feeling on it.
Yeah, it's not really a 0. It's more like I don't know what score to really give him because just didn't play enough for me to it's more of an NA score. Didn't play enough for me to really judge him. I mean, I think for a forward, I think a lot of times, especially for someone like him, it could take a little bit of a while to kind of get used to the league. So I don't think he got enough minutes. I don't think he got enough times. But for the little glimpses I see, I agree with you. Yeah, he looks like a good player. But, I just think it's unfair to give him a score.
You know what?
I actually agree with you. I'll be honest. I actually agree with you. I think even my 5 is a little bit ridiculous. But, just for the Messi fan club, especially Ian Ferguson in the chat, he definitely probably liked my valiant approach there. But, Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it quick. Look, I think Conte looks at him, first of all, and struggles to see where he fits in his system. I do think he needs to bulk up. But I do think he's been a victim of being better than most of the players we have. Because, and I say that in a sense of the players that he was playing with in the Europa Conference League, the players he was playing with against the likes of Morecambe, we could see he thought so much quicker than everybody else. Nobody will deny he looks like a real baller. But I just don't think the environment was right for him to succeed. I think you look at the games when he did play with them, like you said, Jack, we often came off saying, look, he looks good. He thinks quicker than everybody else. They're not at his level. And I think that probably hasn't done him justice because we have to remember, you're looking at the likes of an Ndombele or Lo Celso or a Harry Winks to try and feed him the ball. I mean, Ndombele would feed himself, let alone feed Gil Messi with a football, but the other two just aren't capable of finding him. Dele Alli, shit attitude. players with playing from the back, Sanchez, we couldn't exactly pass out and get the ball to his feet. He's a player that needs the ball to his feet, not pinging it long because we're under pressure and hoping he'll turn it over. I think if he was to come back now, you'd probably see a lot more from Gil Messi, especially off the bench. But look, if Conte doesn't see a place for him, well, then loan him back out, in my opinion. But I do think he will be a future star.
John Carter, a new member of the channel. And John, I mean, I'm glad that you're figuring it out, my man. Really appreciate support, brother. You got the fancy badge next to your name now. That's what you were looking for. And John, hopefully we catch you Monday. If you need any sort of explanation, how to get onto the fan show, feel free to message us and we can email it to you. We can, if you're on Twitter, we can DM it to you. There is a way for us to get you on Monday. If it's kind of confusing or something, just message David or I, and we will be able to get the link to you. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you on Monday. And I really appreciate the support so far, John.
Big up, John. Absolute legend.
Well, another quick one here. Dane Scarlett, I think nice and easy. He was given opportunities in the Europa Conference League. I'll be honest, didn't exactly impress, but he was playing Nuno ball. So to be able to create anything in a Nuno system, I mean, you'd have to be some sort of Christian Eriksen to be able to do that. And he really wasn't given any opportunities in those Europa Conference League games. So I've given him a 3. Marcelo, I'm sure it's the same thing as Bryan Gil. Like really,
same thing as Bryan Gil. Yeah, and even the Conference League game, you can't really fault him. I mean, he had in the midfield, he had Dele Alli, Winks, and then in the back, he had, Sanchez and just Dier, and come on. It's just hard to really judge.
You can't really judge anything.
You can't really judge anything. It's not really a 0. It's just not really a score either. No score.
Dave, do you agree? Maybe kind of a non-applicable, an NA?
I think so. Look, again, Nuno, I don't think he was given the a chance to be successful given in his game time with the players that he played with, a bit like Gil. But I'm glad he got the minutes than a Carlos Vinicius. All this uproar about Carlos Vinicius, again, there was no need for him. Scarlett played 6 games. Carlos Vinicius wouldn't have played much more than that, and I'm delighted he got the games because it'll mean a lot more to him than someone like a Vinicius.
No, I agree with that. Moving on to Lucas Moura. This is kind of an interesting one. Played 44 games, and I know a lot of those were features, at the end of the games, towards the end of the season, but he did play a lot of football.
Wow, he got 14 goals and assists.
14 goals and assists in all competitions. So it was, the stats were a bit surprising, in my eyes. I'll be honest. I think Lucas proved that he probably will get a spot in this squad if he wants to, as a backup, as a squad player. No more than that. He was given his opportunity to get Kulusevski numbers this season. He didn't really take it. I'll be granted, like it was under Nuno. But then when under Conte, he started off really strong under Conte. He actually was looking really good under Conte. And then he started kind of fading away and wasn't really doing very much. And then Kulusevski came in and we just realized what we were missing. But Lucas Moura, I'll be honest, like 14 goal contributions at the end of the season. I can't really bully him. I can't really be mad at him. He's a team player. And we're going to talk about another guy after this who kind of complained.
Good attitude.
Good attitude. And we'll probably talk about another guy after this who didn't really have that good attitude as a backup player. So I can't really give him less than a 6, if I'm going to be honest. So Marcelo, I don't know. Do you want to bump yours up to a 6, or do you think? I think after 5 is average, and it is 5 is an average. Yeah. 5.
I think personally, like as a starting player, he's been average.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with you. As a bench player, I think he has been an above average player. So like a 6, maybe even a 7 to David's score. It's fair enough.
Next season, I think.
He's definitely useful. That's why I give him a 5. I think like an average player is still a useful player. And my only issue with Lucas sometimes it's just it's so frustrating, man. Because sometimes he just runs around like a headless chicken and he loses the ball in such crucial areas. And sometimes like there's such a clear ball that he could play for Sonny or Kane, and he just doesn't play it. And just like that lack of quality in a final third is just so frustrating. But I guess, like for a squad player, I guess he's like a 6, really, honestly. He's an average player, in my opinion.
The 5 is actually more accurate. If you actually looked at his season, you would give him a 5. The only reason I gave him a 6 was just because if it kind of connects to the player we're going to talk about after this, where I kind of just like look at Lucas and I'm like, at least like he doesn't pout, and at least he doesn't think he's precious.
And he's good. He's a good. He's good
like
for the dressing room.
Yeah,
he's good for the dressing room.
You even saw celebrations at the end of the season, like he's still slamming the table, screaming top 4, and everything when we saw the behind the scenes stuff. I don't know, Dave. Like, I don't know what else you need to add, but Lucas, for me, like, I just don't think you can really hate on him. Like, that's maybe my feeling. I just don't think you can hate on him.
No, you can't hate on him. Look, I think he was good under Nuno. To be fair, I thought he was one of the better players under Nuno. Scored an important goal against Burnley in the FA Cup or in the League Cup as well, I remember. And look, he had a decent spell under Conte for his first few games as well. But ever since that Leicester game, he just has failed to deliver. And it's the reason why his stats is, and I'm pretty sure we'll be bringing up Kulus, and they'll probably just be a similar, if not more. And he's had play. He only played from February. He's played like 3-4 months of the season. So look, with Lucas works hard and everything else, I would probably keep him around. But again, I would like him to up his end product a bit more.
Leaves you wanting more, like someone put in the comments. But again, a lot of my comments were really connected to this guy. I still gave him a 6. But the only reason I gave him a 6, Marcelo, is because he gave us goal contributions and he gave us good performances when he came on the pitch. But if you take into consideration what he was doing off the pitch, it makes me want to lower it down to a 5 or a 4, because I'm not the kind of person that likes that sort of thing. I don't really care how well you do in the numbers. If you're distracting from the main goal, if you're distracting from what the team is trying to achieve, if you're making it all about yourself, I just don't think that's the right type of player you want to have around. But I'm going to be honest, was given nowhere near as many opportunities as he probably deserved based on, his performances. But
he didn't deserve them because he's not better than Sonny.
I want to lower this despite how good he did when he came. Like, when he actually came onto the pitch, he was good this season.
I disagree.
Opportunities are under on the training pitch.
Listen, I disagree, man. I don't like. I think a lot of people, when they look at Bergwijn now, they look with that fog glass of that Leicester game. And in my opinion, I think he's a below average, or an average. No, not below average. Like, he's an average forward at most.
Your 5. Yeah.
His first touch is abysmal. His final third decision is almost as. It's actually not almost. It is worse than Lucas Moura's final third. His end product is just wanting. Sometimes he just balloons balls, and he's good at running with the ball and he's good at dribbling. I will agree with that. But just look at his assessment from Nuno. Remember when we asked him about Nuno? All Nuno could say is that he had pace, and that's all he really is. He only has pace and he has good dribbling, but his end product is not good. His first touch. The amount of balls sometimes I saw him come in, right? I think of that. What was it? Was it the Brighton game? Right in front of the goal. Completely fluffs it. And then sometimes his first touches are just, it's almost like a trampoline. I think it's Lukaku in there, bro.
He missed a chance against Liverpool despite Højbjerg's big chance. He also missed, I think he came on late. I think it was against Liverpool, and he missed a good chance in that game.
Him up front is just not good enough for a forward. And it's like, as much as like sometimes I hate on Lucas for it, but at least sometimes Lucas does find that right pass. At least Lucas does have a good first touch. Sometimes he does have that shot in him. Yeah. I would say Bergwijn
Lucas doesn't have a shit attitude.
Yeah, and I would say Bergwijn's final third is worse than Lucas. So in my opinion, he's an average forward, and the reason why he hasn't started is because he's just not as good as Sonny, and he never will be.
Look. Minutes around on the training pitch, minutes around what you do during the week off camera, behind the scenes. He's got an attitude problem. And it's as simple as that. Yes, he scored against Man City first game of the season. Yes, he got the winner against Leicester. Yes, he got a couple of other goals. But half of them are fuck you goals to Conte. That's all they are. If he really wanted to be a part of this team, instead of sitting there moaning, I'm not being given the minutes I deserve, have the right attitude around Tottenham Hotspur. Stand up and represent what Tottenham Hotspur represents, instead of crying about things all the time. His attitude is piss poor. That's why he's not in the team. That's why he doesn't get the minutes.
Yeah.
Change your attitude. It's simple. Change your attitude, like Matt already done. Work on your game, you'll get into the team. You don't want to do that, tough tits. And he's a victim of himself. People are blaming Conte. People are blaming, everybody else but this guy. But where else have I seen that pattern emerge? Dele Alli, Lo Celso, Harry Winks.
Yep.
Sometimes you just got to accept that the player himself is not good enough. How comes Doherty can be outcasted? And this is Conte's own words. He went away, worked on his game, took his opportunity when I gave it to him, and that's how he ended up being a part of my plans. Bergwijn hasn't done that. That's not an
He hasn't done that under 3 different managers.
That's his fault.
Yeah. Hasn't done that under 3 different managers, let's be honest. So, I mean, there's only so many excuses you can give, but someone that we can definitely be happy about that did take his opportunities was Kulusevski, everybody. 20 matches played, 13 goal contributions in 20 matches played. I almost felt like giving him a 10 because it's hard to remember a bad game he really had. But to be fair, I think the reason I gave him a 9, if not an 8, you could almost consider an 8 because there were 2 games where he just wasn't, maybe he didn't play poorly, just was missing. I'm thinking of the Brighton and Brentford game in particular. Maybe.
But you know what? Everybody goes missing a game here and there. Kulusevski, he could be he really should be probably a 10 because the kid just went. I can't say a bad thing about him, man.
Shows him the weight room, Marcelo. He doesn't need the pace. Yeah. He shows players the weight room. He's finishing as
strong.
Creativity.
Good with the ball, carries the ball well, good link-up play with whichever, whether it was Doherty or Emerson, he found a way to find good link-up plays with either of them. Also brave, he takes, sometimes when the game is not going our way, I've seen him, take the ball and just drive it himself and be that player that we sometimes kept saying, like when we were missing Kane and Son, we didn't have that player that would drive with the ball, and he was that guy, kind of taking command. And I think for a 22-year-old, that's just incredible, especially at a new club. He hit the ground running. You know what I mean? I was devastated. I was devastated when we lost Luis Diaz, personally, right? I was devastated when that happened, but I'm almost kind of glad because we got Dejan Kulusevski, who, in my opinion, the kid, if he continues like this, he is going to be a major talent. He is fantastic with the ball, and he works hard too. He tracks back. He helps the team. He even said it himself. He loves suffering. This is a Conte player. This kid is a Conte player through and through. Unless something happens where he lets the money get in his head or he lets the hype get in his head, we got a solid player for 10 years.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And look, just for me on Kulusevski, first of all, I don't hear anybody making excuses for him like they do for Bergwijn. Wonder why. He has the right attitude. Second of all, for a guy at 21 to come in and fit alongside Kane and Son, unbelievable. But if Bergwijn done his job, instead of complaining I'm not getting minutes, we wouldn't have had to brought this guy in. So, again, and then the last thing I'll say is, called a reject before he even got here. He came off the bench
immense pressure
in the cup game, set up a couple of chances. Bergwijn missed a sitter off one of them, actually. And people were coming out the game, he's got no pace, he's a donkey. And Jack, I've said this time and time again, and it goes back to what people said about Harry Kane at the beginning of the season. He's got no pace. Get him out of the team. We need pace. Football isn't about pace. Serge Aurier had pace. Sissoko had pace. But they can't control the football. Football is about being able to move the ball, control it, pass it.
And he has pace.
It's about the ball.
Yeah, that's a lie. He does have pace.
Pace is an added bonus. But the thing is, football is not about pace. A lot of people nowadays, because they play FIFA and some of the players aren't good without pace, all of a sudden, it's all about pace. You don't need pace. If your head moves quicker than your feet,
pace is an added bonus.
It's all about how quick up here. How quick up here is. How sharp up here is. Here, moves your feet downstairs. Here, makes the decisions for you. It's all about up here. You don't need pace to be a good footballer. And it backed up what I used to say about Harry Kane. Everyone wanted Harry Kane out of the team because he did not have pace. And people said that to me. But why would you take Harry Kane out of the team when he's if anyone's going to score, it's going to be him? Oh, because he doesn't have pace. Absolutely ridiculous. Kulusevski is a living example. Bergwijn has more pace than him. Lucas has more pace than him. But yeah, he's ousted both of them. Living example that your brain will always be quicker than your feet. And that's why he's in the team, and that's why he posts the numbers he does.
There you are. There you are. Kulusevski, everybody. Kulusevski. But honestly, another fantastic performance that I think it needs to be spoken about, and someone that I think is the definition of consistent throughout this whole season. Even at one stage when people thought that Sonny was, like worth dropping. I mean, I'll be honest, like I agree that maybe he wasn't playing at the same sort of level, freakish sort of levels that he was before, but this guy was still getting goals and assists even when people thought that he needed to be dropped. The most consistent player this entire season. I think he had the most key passes. I think he had some of the most shot creating actions. He had some of the best creative numbers in this whole team, let alone goals and assists. He had some of the best underlying numbers in general for this whole season. This was Sonny's season. As much as Harry Kane, stepped up and proved people wrong, which we will talk about later. I know Dave has good speech about that. This was Sonny's season in my eyes, Marcel. This was something where he was from day one through match day 1 through match day 38. This guy was the consistent man and the one that we relied on. And every single stats with Jack, he was my key player, Marcelo, because I was like, listen, we're not winning this game if Sonny doesn't have a good game.
So now, though, Sonjo Messi, the Korean king, the Asian sensation, does it again, season after season, and he did it with style this time. Golden Boot winner, bro. What can you say about the guy? Everybody, there was a point people doubted him. He went in there. He outdid what everybody expected. He got a golden. Oh, I think my mic died. Can you hear me?
We can still hear you. Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah. So he still went out there and he won a golden boot, bro. And guess what? He did it with fashion. He did it with style. And he did it at a time where the club was in crisis. When the club was in crisis, when the club looked like it was down, Sonny was there and he was playing with a smile. When we thought we were losing Harry Kane, we thought we were, maybe not getting the, gonna get to where we wanted. He was there. He was putting in the work in, and he was uniting Tottenham. And he was really the glue that kept Tottenham together, especially early on that season with that Nuno era. He was the one bright light in a dark, dark, dark time at Tottenham Hotspur. And I will forever be grateful for him because he didn't need to re-sign that contract. He didn't need to do what he needed to do, but he stepped up, and he was our hero of the season. And that's why I love him. I love you, son.
There, Marcel. I absolutely love you. I love that you said that because that's a huge point I missed because he actually signed a contract when he knew about Nuno. He signed a contract when this club looked, let's be honest, not great, and the future did not look great. Sonny apparently just loves Spurs, and even other pundits, people from Fraud Sports and whatnot, can't even fathom that he just loves Spurs. He doesn't really want to play for anybody else other than Spurs for the rest of his career. So Dave, even that almost gets him an extra point. If you had him at a 9, even that just gets him an extra point. The fact that he has put his future to Spurs at the beginning of this season, when this season did not look great under Nuno, he still said, listen, my future is with Spurs. I love this club.
From start to finish, being absolutely incredible. Comes out with a golden boot, absolutely delighted. Doesn't matter what the manager is this season, he has performed. And he's just been absolutely unbelievable from start to finish. 44 matches played, 32 goal contributions, whether it's goals or assists. Absolutely incredible all season long. And for me, I really think he stepped out of Harry Kane's shadow this season. And he's really shown to everybody that he is absolutely world class. He is absolutely the man. So, yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for Sonny. But look, I'll just give my quick thing on Harry Kane because I do have to bounce. I really do have to go. Just quickly on Harry Kane, I have learned in life sometimes the less said, the better. So I'll just let people look at his stats and that because people want this guy gone this summer. But look, Jack, are you okay just to finish it up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
I'm sorry,
lad.
no
Don't worry. Yeah. Do what you got to do.
Wrap it up
See
here.
you, boys.
Don't worry, we're on the last one anyway. But Sonny, player of the season for us, I think, especially for Marcelo, who's just given him the Sonaldo title, which he definitely deserves. But last but not least, Harry Kane finished actually at the end of the day. He did finish with the most goal contributions. With the most goal contributions in all comps. He actually also, funny enough, when you actually kind of look at the summer rumors and everything, the fact that he even finished with the most matches played too is actually kind of impressive. Finished with more matches played than even Lloris, which is kind of insane. To be fair, I didn't even think about that, because when you think about Kane's sort of like year, you think like he was missing for a bunch of games, because of the Nuno era. He was playing in those games. He just wasn't doing very much like in those games. But he has played 49 matches this season, which is plenty. That is plenty of games. 35 goal contributions. I'll be honest, not a 10 because of how this season started.
And that's why he gets an 8. But for me.
Yeah, and maybe explain Marcel. For me, I don't think he gets a 10 because of how the season started, but still, he proved a lot of people wrong. And if David didn't have to go, I know he would have an incredibly passionate, rant about don't doubt our main man, Harry Kane. But Marcelo, maybe you can summarize Harry Kane.
Look, for me with Kane, he's been fantastic this season. And as soon as he said he's willing to stay to Spurs, I was like, oh, I'm glad to have you back, bro. Because you know what? We need you. You know what I mean? So I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he stayed, and he proved to everybody why he should stay at Spurs, and how important he is to our foundation. But I will say, at the beginning of the season, it did leave a sour taste in my mouth. Not because he wanted to leave. I listen. I'm a massive Gareth Bale fan, and when he said he wanted to leave Spurs, I understood it. And when Kane said he wanted to leave Tottenham, I understood it as well. I understand why maybe he wants to try something new. Never will blame a player for that. It's how he did it. Kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. Now, I'm sure he had reasons why he did his things and why he did it. But whatever reasons they are, you can't deny the ramifications and the consequences of his action. And his action did affect the squad. And it did affect the squad in a negative way. And it did kind of bring us in a dark cloud of uncertainty. And I did not like that uncertainty. If you want to leave the club, make it clear what you want to do. Make it clear what your plans are. Don't do a gentleman's agreement, whatever crap that is. Hire a real fucking manager, man. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Hire a real manager. And that cloud of uncertainty really did affect us early in the season, man. And like I said, I'm sure he had his reasons. And I'm sure, if he gave those reasons, they were probably justified.
Yeah.
But I care about Spurs, and
if you heard about it in a different way, I think he probably regrets it, Marcelo.
So for me, he gets an 8 for that reason, and early in the season. And you can't listen. His first half of the season, he was crap. He really wasn't that good. Let's be real. In the Premier League, he was not scoring goals. It took him until
he was missing chances too. Even when he was given chances, he was missing them too. Yeah,
I understand from a mentality standpoint, why he was probably not his best. Lost the Euros, had to go through that whole transfer, fiasco. So he's not going to mentally and probably maybe physically going to be at his best. He's also playing under Nuno, but man, like the performances were still there, and his actions were still there. So for me, I think he is a redemption of the season. I'll say that, because the fact that he still gets an 8 with how he started is ridiculous. Because if most players started the way he started, it is, if most players started how he started, I mean, look at Lukaku.
Do you think it'd be like someone starting with like an F, in the beginning of the season, like for like grades, and then they finish with like a B plus or something, and you're like, holy shit, dude, like, wow, okay, like,
So I think he is the redemption of the season, but I can't look past that. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah,
like I said, I judge for the whole season.
I think he started at like an F, and then he like recovered himself miraculously to like a B plus or an A minus, somehow like. And like any parent or, would be like, wow, I guess you were a man of your word. Like, I guess you did it, fair play to you. But it definitely was a struggle. And I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't, have, at least a bit of frustrations with Kane, at any stage. So And I am disappointed that, people probably missed out on Dave's rant. But to be fair, we've been treated to plenty of them. So just go back in time and you'll be able to find Dave's rants of the past. But everybody, do grab that channel membership. We do have the fan show coming up this Monday with plenty to talk about. We also have this Sunday where we're going to be just doing a big season review kind of chat. I know Marcelo, I think, is going to be there. Sean is going to be there. It's just going to be the old gang, the gang that you know very well on the Irish Hotspur. And we're just going to be chatting about the whole season. And I know plenty of you will want to hear some takes because Dave is going to have a few mic drops. I know Marcelo is going to have a few as well. Definitely some questions that are definitely going to be in our wheelhouse. So if you also want to check that one out, we are going to be live Sunday. Taking a day off tomorrow for the Champions League. I think probably makes sense. Everybody just enjoy their Champions League final day. But we will be back Sunday, and then Monday is the fan show, so you can grab that membership here. If anybody's thinking about transfers and whatnot, I just had a really good discussion with Kieran and Darius where we just predicted the transfers and the signings that would be happening. In fact, we did say that Perišić would probably be a very likely one to happen, so we could talk about that. Have a look at that video. It's also in the community section, so do subscribe over to flatcapeurotalk. But that'll be all for now, everybody. We will be live on Sunday, Champions League tomorrow, so we won't be live tomorrow. Really appreciate everybody tuning in for this one. Has been a big stream. It would have been a lot shorter if we weren't talking about Perišić and Conte for like a full hour and 15 minutes. I'll be honest, when I really look at it, I think we only did spend like 2 hours on the player ratings for a whole season, which we were a lot more efficient than we were last time. Marcelo.
Yeah, to do 3 videos.
Yeah, last time we had to do 3 videos.
I think
it was worth
it.
it.
A lot of
it was
problems.
so worth it.
A lot of problems.
A lot of problems. Yeah,
so,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Well, that'll be it for it though, everybody. Really appreciate you all tuning in. That'll be all for now. We'll catch you Sunday with that big season review show. Come on, you Spurs, and in Conte we trust.
In Conte we trust.
Yeah.